What is up, YouTube? How are we doing out there? This your guy, Project Nerd HQ. I got a special edition of this week's Comrades Corner. I have my my professor, McLean. He's joining in with us today. And,
Good.
there's a lot going on that, McLean and I have been going back and forth with this week and on Twitter, as you guys are all aware of it. I'm going to just put the invite in the chat just in case anybody joins and they want to just jump in with us. But McLean, bro, I'm gonna let you start off, give an introduction. Normally people that join with me and chat with me are like sports guys. I tried to connect and be the bridge between like the sports bros and like politics or like social, whatever, however you want to label it or whatever. But platform's yours, bro.
Yeah, man. So I'm a teacher. I've been doing electrical for going on like 7 years now. Grew up in a philosophical household. So that's that in itself is a crazy experience. And I like to, as you know, man, I'd like to, I like a lot of times share that information and different angles on and perspectives of life that we're not even aware of, and what you are aware of is actually your world, so if you don't even know it exists, it's not an option anymore. So I've been doing that. I'm stand-up comedian for 4 years, going on 5, and that's going good. I'm about to go different states.
A really, really good stand-up comedian, by the way.
Yeah. Trying to make everybody laugh, you know what I'm saying? But so that's going good. And I mean, yeah, man. I mean, you know me, so
No, yeah, it's you're being very modest. Salute to my guy SB Sports in the chat. What's up, my guy? SB Sports, he covers Chicago sports basically. Well, he lives in Chicago, but he's a Bulls fan. He's all over the place, but he's a Yankee fan, so that's my guy though. So you and I, it was crazy because it's like you called me right when I was messaging you earlier in the week. And it's like when I was in your class, just for people who not aware, McLean was my instructor when I was at school, for electrical theory. You and I, we clicked. I mean, it was like a sync. You understand? It's like we looked at each other. It was like sussed each other out. It was like, I vibe with you. I fucks with you. So it was like right when I was messaging you that you hit me up right away, and that's like that right there speaks wonders. But it's you and I always had conversations when it comes to like society and the world and the viewpoints.
Yes.
And when you do a parallel complex or like look in the mirror from last year to where we are right now, it's literally the same shit. It's literally the same stuff going on, but just different characters in the scenes or different actors in the scene. If you want to take time, you could speak on that, set it up, and then we continue. We could segue into the rest of the convo.
I think I just this recent news of this police brutality that we were talking about that with the phone. I did a video. It was called the Black Boohoo. And this is speaking about the subconscious mindset that Black people, and especially in poor in neighborhoods or communities, have when one of these tragedies occur. And that's to complain. You react, maybe you act out, and then you move on. And something that my father is creating a program about called Papillon. It's actually a Roman name. I actually forgot what it stands for, but it has a lot of meaning to it. But it's a program that actually enriches Black people by creating what's available to them. And again, I like to draw the analogy of chess because I've been playing that since I was 4 years old, since my mom and my grandfather, taught me. And people think that they know how to play, but it's really it's an agenda from the jump street. You're not just moving pieces. And Black automatically has a disadvantage in a percentage of you know, their possibilities of winning just because, you know, white has the privilege of moving forward first. So that right there, people don't understand that that 6-7% difference is a huge game changer.
And it's when you bring that up, you know, obviously, you know, people who's listened to me, you know that I'm a hardcore leftist, socialist, communist, Marxist, whatever you want to label it. But
Okay.
you know, I do identify, I do let people know is that I'm may have come from a certain background, being, you know, in the Bronx or Far Rockaway, growing up poor or living in poor areas. But you just pointed it out. I may be Puerto Rican and come from a lineage of Tainos and mixed race Boricans, but I still benefit from white privilege, you know, just because of my skin color. And I realized that it wasn't until I stepped out of what my normal box was of living in my hood or being with my homies and stuff and going into the work field at a very young age and working in restaurants and being able to advance, boom, boom, boom. My head, I was like, you know what? It's just hard work, you know, because at the same time, you and I, we both come from a family of immigrants. You know, we're both like first, second generation immigrant kids. So we've had a certain mind frame that's conditioned to us of what's the best immigrant. How do we best assimilate? So I always thought it was like working hard, keeping your head down and doing that. First job was able to do that. Second job was able to do that. And then it wasn't until I became an EMT, and I've spoken to you about my different scenarios. It wasn't until I became an EMT and I got shot up, boom, 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 supervisor, operation, FDO. And it wasn't until I started talking out for my workers when it came to like workers' rights. And once my chief thought like, oh, your name is Hector Beauchamp, I'm thinking you some white boy or whatever. But once he found out like I was Puerto Rican or Muslim, I was shifted to overnight. You know, I was shifted to like not being included in certain conversations. You know,
so it's your mouth shut, man, and roll that white privilege wave, baby.
No, but it's that right at that point, I had to like find like it clicked for me, like holy shit, that shit is true.
Yeah, it's real. That shit was real right then and there. That was real. You saw,
and then there's so many people that look like me, or like white Italians, or like German whites, that you have to look at the history of this country. It's always been the fear of the other. It's always been the fear of the immigrant, and it's like
to add on to what you're saying. Me and my girl started watching this series called Them.
That's a joint on Amazon, right?
Into, again, this idea that we should take time to ourselves to cry for ourselves. You know, it's not enough of empowering moves being done. It's always now what's going on is that yes, the exploitation of the white damage that happened for 400 years. Now it's visible. Okay, it's very okay. Let's give that to him. It's important that these things are now in image and seen and visible. But if you look at the psychology, it's also the subconscious is telling you that we have been in this situation for so long that now it's affecting our psyche. Now we are psychotic. Now we see things. Now we are so paranoid. And look at the titles of these movies. Get Out, Us, Them. What the fuck is, you know, it's us versus them, it's other, and instead of a unity, because you empowered yourself and you made your opponent respect you, it is this, it's again the separation, it's us versus them, and it's all in the titles, you know? And I find it very weird.
No, I get that, but it's like until the original sin of Western expansion and Western colonialism, or just imperialism alone, like European expansion, until that original sin is answered for, we're just gonna be running around in circles.
I think that
until it's acknowledged, because look at you know what happened in South Africa when it came to the apartheid state, and the work that, you know, Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu did. Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu said those that adhere to a structure, power structure that's in place, are victims to that power structure, just as though the victims that were victimized by that power structure. You know, you have policing in this country. You know, it's like this is their training. This is just years and years of systemic training and just structure. And when you look at the police is just for one thing: it's to protect class interests, it's to protect corporate interests, it's to protect tax properties. If you really look into what the police are doing, because there's been so many instances of the police. Look at our neighborhoods that we grew up in, black and brown neighborhoods. The police are flooded in those neighborhoods. Those cops that work in those neighborhoods aren't from those neighborhoods.
Well,
They take their paycheck and go out of the city and live upstate, and then that tax money that was paid for their salary is not getting reinvested into the community.
Well, they don't call it a project for no reason. You know, the project is to see if you're gonna get out, and that's why the movie's called probably Get Out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, you know, again, you know, and we've also spoken about this in class. Frequencies, what you vibe to, what you are surrounded around is just as genetically important to you as what's on the inside. And the aggressive music that we listen to, long story short, out of all the 9 solfeggio tones, however you say it, we listen to a frequency 428, around 428 hertz, which is what they call like the devil's tone, and that affects you. You know, it affects you. The information that you receive, how curious you are about it. You know, it's like, imagine that, like all day you're getting hit with Fabio and fucking DMX.
Yeah.
And you know, these frequencies affect water, and water's in our blood. You know, so that you have a negative vibe, you already feel like victim. You already are pumped up all day to go to battle. And the minute that a cop pull you over, it's wise me, and it gets all this aggression into these things that should never take place. And I'm not at all saying that these cops are justified. You know what I'm saying? They go to the extreme limits. They go, and it's bad infrastructure of policing. You got guys that they get training for 6 weeks. They then after that, you need a high school diploma, and then you got a motherfucker from Syosset getting shipped to the Bronx. And so now when he's on the corner with Tyrone, and now Tyrone is saying stuff to him that he don't understand, he's taking that as a threat. And because, unfortunately, in many cases, Tyrone is not educated, the cop may talk over his head, and now he's taking that as a threat.
Yeah.
And now because that energy of going to battle was already there in the beginning, it was just a waiting bomb happening, you know, for violence to take place. And that's one of the issues that's the project. To see if you're going to get out through all these conditions, through the vibes that you're feeling, through the financial assistance that you get, through the heavy policing, military policing that's on all 4 corners. You can't do nothing right? It's amazing how Jay-Z and 50 and them got out. It's amazing, you know.
When you speak, we have different viewpoints when we look at the projects, as you would say, because I look at it as that's right there is the tools that is used in the class struggle, right? When you look at public housing and Europe, and I always bring it up to Europe, like Red Vienna, for instance, public housing was put in place not like how we know what public housing, not like NYCHA, you know. Public housing was put in place to decommodify the housing market. Look at how much rents are in the United States. In New York City alone, rent is through the roof. That's because the market is commodified privately. It's owned privately. So private interest controls the market. So when you have it set up like in Red Vienna, 66%, and I'll send you the studies and stuff. Salute to my guy Delano still, you know, prayers, Delano, to your family, my guy. Thank you for joining us. I'll send you like clips or whatever, but 66% of public housing, I mean of like apartments or whatever, is controlled by state-owned apartment programs. What it is the state, we are taxpayers, we pay into the state or whatever, they own the apartment buildings. So there's no incentive for like big profit. So the rent is easily controlled, 600, 700, 800 a month for living in like downtown France. So when you look at the French population, and when you look at the German population, 80% of them are living in these apartment buildings that I'm telling you about.
No, that's no, absolutely.
Yeah. So
I
like
think,
like it's always like when you look at homelessness in the United States, right?
yeah.
We could pinpoint California. The big issue, and no one talks about it, California does not have a NYCHA. It doesn't have a public housing program. That's why California is so, especially in Los Angeles, the homelessness is crazy. Also,
No, I've
too,
been there. It's nuts.
so
It's
yeah,
fucking, and
the real estate laws and like how people get apartments is crazy. In New York City, I just signed me and my partner, we just signed the 1-year lease, for next year. Over there in California, it's monthly leases. So you could be living someplace for years on doubt. You and your grandmother, you and your mother, and you've known that landlord for years. Somebody comes by that property, you're done. And when we talk about landlords, it's not like how landlords because you have family members that own property and rent them out. We're talking about big corporations. We're talking about realty establishments. We're talking about like hedge fund companies. Hedge fund companies own about 80% of our renting market. The small mom and pops landlord, that day is gone. Same thing like with small businesses. Same thing like with cab companies. That small mom and pop person, that person gone.
Yeah. Yep. That's crazy. They're not gonna be there.
And it's like,
and I feel like that's what the capital gains tax incentive is about too, because it's like if you have people that are investing in these things, you're gonna have more commercialized real estate getting built in areas for people that need it. But I think you're right.
I'm gonna push back just a little bit and I'll let you continue. The capital gains tax, right?
Yeah.
When you look at Biden and people's been talking about, oh, Biden's tax plan is crazy tax, bullshit. It's a talking point. Before Trump's tax cuts, right? Corporate tax rate from Obama was at 35%. Trump lowered it from 35% to 22%. Biden's tax bill raises it from 22% to 28%. Is 28% higher than 35% like it was before Trump? No, it's the same shit. It's the same shit. Corporate tax rate when FDR was like the New Deal was at 80-90%. When you look at like the corporate tax rate, or when you look at capital gains tax, right? If we were to give massive tax, say like you're a millionaire, right? You own several corporations. I give you a crazy tax cut, right? For the promise of you investing that and starting it, opening more factories and hiring more people. Me giving you that tax cut, is that a change in the market between your supply and demand? Does your supply go up?
The thing is that you see, when we think of capital gains tax, we only think of the extremely wealthy that actually invest in those things. Those things, there are like it's kind of like if Bitcoin right now is at 54,000, right? It was at 63 the other day. I don't need to buy a whole coin in order to get dividends and percentages back. I could be a regular old Joe, put $5 grand in, and if that market goes up, I'm seeing a percentage of that as well. Capital gains tax allows people in monetary middle class, you can invest in those things.
The stock market.
Yeah, right. Basically, it is. It's like, and you can invest in those things, and this gives you incentive to invest, and also you can get kickback as well. I don't know, man. I just feel like, just getting back to the point about the policing, I think it's just very important that, look, if you go to Britain, right, or if you go in Europe, they have about 2-year hard, extensive training you have to do. You have to have a bachelor's degree. You have to have taken psychological and sociological classes. And you have to be trained to disarm someone without a gun. Their percentages, I think I saw a crazy study the other day where they've only had 22 shootings in the last decade. And in ours, we had 164.
And in the last year. Only with those 22, it's been like it was like 2 or 3 fatal with those 22, right?
Right. And in the last decade,
I know exactly what statistics.
And in us this year, we had over 120 in just 1 year, from 2020 to 2021. So they disarm people who have guns. They know how to negotiate, how to talk. These are important things. You know what I'm saying? Like this training that we have, bro. Like, why did that woman not know her left from her right?
Well, it's also the culture. It's also the culture in policing. Because imagine if what happened with that young man. If she would have got back to the precinct with him alive, you think those cops wouldn't have made fun of her? Oh, you let this motherfucker run on you? Stupid. I would have fucking shot that motherfucker. You don't think that's the narrative that they're playing? Just like it was last year. You remember when the dude that was in the drive-through, I think at Burger King, and he fell asleep, and they came and he got out and he ran with one of their tasers. You think if those cops would have made it back to the precinct with that cop, with that dude still alive, you think those cops would have clowned them? I would have fucking shot that motherfucker. It's the culture too. I've been on calls with EDPs and people acting up, and police come onto the scene and hand on a gun, automatically want to grip it out. Oh, I can't wait for that people to fucking jump at me.
That's crazy, bro. That shit is crazy.
You look at the job though, and you see it's like you said, it's so easy to get, right? It's minimum training, and at the same time, it's minimum training and it's high salary. How many people how many people done messed up their life, right? And by the time they're 25, 26, they want to do all right. I want to get a career, but the quickest way and the fastest way and the one that's going to get me the most money.
Yeah. But also, I feel like the screening process is horrible. You got to screen better. You're only as good as your first defense or your filter. So, if I'm reading that this guy was bullied in school, right? He's bullied in school. The man weighs, he has an insecurity problem. He has a case record or a file of doing like mischievous shit when he was a kid, killing squirrels and shit. Why am I hiring him as a police officer? The screening is horrible. So it's still perfect. These guys fulfill an undertone message that these other cops that are in the field want them to do. The guy in the office doesn't not give a fuck about that black man just as much as that psychotic motherfucker that he's sucking out on anyway. It's the screening is terrible, man, and it's just like.
And at the same time too, that and it's sad to say it because there's cops that are African American, that are cops that are Puerto Rican or Dominicans and stuff, right? And it's the whole idea of trying to assimilate. How can you be the best other? How can I fall into line? And it's like when you analyze police structure, they'll let a Dominican or a Puerto Rican or a black dude be a sergeant. Cool. Maybe lieutenant. Cool. When's the last time there was a black or Latin police chief of police in New York City? When you look at our society that's set up, like, dog, you're a teacher. When's the last time there was a brand new public school built in New York City?
Yeah. Well, it's all milking the game. It's all about using that screw until you can't the final thread fall off that motherfucker. That's what it's about, because by the time it fell off, you probably saved a shitload in purchases of future purposes. You milked the shit out of it. So in that same way, just like how you're talking about the building new buildings and new schools, and it's not they like to milk the system, So, but I wanted to ask you something, right?
Yeah.
With all this protesting and stuff, what do you think would be the most effective way to start a wave or a movement to actually get something done?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was literally going to segue way into it. I've had conversations with other people, and I go on Discord or Twitch, and speak with a variety of people. Like this, like first time I encountered like a literal Nazi, scared the shit out of me. But they're legit Nazis that are literally out there. But that's besides the point. I've always told people, like, these protests from last year, the Black Lives Matter protests and stuff, Antifa, whatever, but they're nice, to get people organized and stuff. But what really is going to do the job is a massive strike. You see what happened in India at the same time last year? India was having a massive worker strike. Right now, the farmers of India right now are striking, general strike. They're shutting down train routes, and that's how you get big business corporations, the people that are sitting on top, in those offices, start to get scared because you start panicking with their dollars. You know,
That's right.
this past December in Hunts Point in the Bronx, the workers over there were trying to unionize. The workers over there shut that whole shit. Hunts Point is the industrial market of New York City. They shut it down. They didn't let no trucks in and out. They didn't let and the workers were able to negotiate in 3 days because of that. Because big business, the people on top that's controlling the strings, they're scared once their dollars start being affected. Look at this whole like COVID, and I brought it up to you when you was like even teaching us. It's like, you know, your teachers, you know, I'm not going to speak that much where you work at, but the teachers where you work at, you guys aren't unionized, you know. So you seen why you guys were back so fast to work, right?
Yeah,
like that right there is mind blowing. The BS precautions that they had set up in place, the BS like, oh, I'm gonna just beep, you're good. Did you go out? I went out of fucking town so many times and told them no.
Oh man, he was like, "Oh, I did not go out of town. Me, my man was in Connecticut and shit." Fucking
no, but what my thing is if it's mass unionization, if it's mass worker coalition, this has to be like a coalition across class, across gender, across sexual orientation. It has to be all of us, because when you look back at history, right? When you look back at like when feudalism was set up in Europe, right? And Britain, for whatever the fuck you want to say it, they had the nobles. The nobles were the policemen who controlled the motherfuckers, right? The king and queens, that was the state. The church was the government. Look at the structure. Feudalism into capitalism, Western expansion, because in Europe at the time, motherfuckers was dying of famine because they didn't have resources to plenish the land. They would use the land from the farming, the agricultural revolution. That was led to all those diseases. Putting all those farm animals in one area where they never had happened before, bred so many diseases, bred so much influenza, bred all of that they came over here and killed the natives off with. Is kind of weird. They killed themselves off, but they made themselves stronger to kill other people. But that's besides the point. Look at that they moved on to North America, to Puerto Rico, to Dominican Republic, and what they was able to do is trick the poor whites and use the idea of race and use the idea of pure blood, because at the time before they came over here, they were killing the Irish. They were saying the Irish were dirt bloods. They were saying the Irish were from monkeys and shit like that. It was
the indentured servant, basically, where it's like, what happened? Yeah, exactly. Those guys were getting shipped over here for petty fucking crimes. You know, you stole an apple, you get your fucking hand cut off.
But you know, it's because they had that little bit of privilege of being white. That you're better than those savages. Go kill them for us.
I always tell people that's when the first manager was developed.
The first supervisor.
The first supervisor, the first manager. That's where when he says, "Yo, listen, Tommy, you just like me. So I'll let you know what it feels like to sleep in a bed if you keep these black motherfuckers in check."
No, seriously.
No, but that's really what it was, and it's sad because genetically and everything in every way, there really is no such thing as race. It's a human notion that we created to create separation.
To create for class, to control class interests.
You know, the thing is I tell everybody this. A lot of people, when they go on a job or they do something, they only care about certain things. They only care about hows, what's, when's, and where's, and they don't ask why. And why is the most important question. You know, everything else is a function. What is the subject? When is time? How is procedure? Where is location? But when we ask why, that's reason. That's logic. And we don't ask that how this all began. Why did it begin? Just like where we're going right now. And the study is pretty similar to when they tested it out on chimps and monkeys, where you put a ladder in the middle of the cage and they put a banana on top. And every time one of them chimps went up there, they blast him off with the hose. The second cycle comes in, does the same thing. Blast him off. Third cycle, by the fourth cycle, they didn't even have to do it no more. No monkey went up the ladder. Finally, around like maybe the 8th or 12th generation cycle, that monkey went up there. And the other monkeys went up with him and beat the shit out of him. And the question, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if you was to ask that 12th monkey who just got his ass whooped, yo, why can't we go up the ladder and get the banana, the fruit, you know what I'm saying? The nutrients. Why can't we get it? He's gonna say, I don't know, it's always been this way.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so far removed from the beginning that we don't know that some asshole scientist just wanted to test if these monkeys would keep each other in check. And if we knew that reason, the why, we would not be thinking the way we do and doing this reductionism to ourselves. All of a sudden, when you code switch and you go to a job, you sound intelligent or white.
Say that again for people in the chat. Code switch.
Code switching. Yeah. You look down on people that code switch. You look down on people, that read, that are expanding their minds, that are creating options for themselves. And you are not you, but I'm saying minorities now are in general are engulfed by this disease. And we don't understand why we're getting hit with it. And it's just because of these beginnings. And so in order to get out of that, you have to be curious and you have to be industrious and you have to reject everything in your environment. You see what I'm saying? Like my father grew up, bro, with a grandmother that came here from Bari, Italy at 19 years old, and a grandfather who quit school in 6th grade in the Great Depression to feed his family. And my father didn't have no environmental influence, spiritual influence, no influence for intellectual, being an intellect, going to school. He's the first one to have a master's and a PhD in his entire family. First one ever. No influence to learn about finances, that what he teaches me today. He rejected all of those things. That was a constant blast on him every day in Queens, in Jamaica, growing up in Jamaica, Queens. It's just constant. Why do you want to expand? Why do you want to be like them? And that separation of expanding to be an intellect it stops a lot of us. It starts a lot of times on an individual. And I'm not discrediting the atmosphere and the environment that doesn't have an influence. That's stupid to say. Obviously, if that's all you see, you're going to do that. But, it takes someone to get furious at their situation to want to change. And that's what I really want to speak about is the individual power, like the Superman ability. Yeah. What if a child really aspired to be something greater than its environment? That would be a dangerous thing, right? And the system, in a way, is meant to suppress that dude too.
So, the power structure that's at play plays a big part to it. Sorry, continue.
You gotta be, you have to be a strong individual to stop all this getting blasted with this every day. The real question is what day are you going to choose to do it?
You do have to be a strong individual, like you said, to deal with it. And at the same time, it gets frustrating, because I've had these conversations with right wingers or conservatives, and you know how I am when I get into conversation with people. I would literally, you see that dude got upset in class, screamed and ran into the room. He was so upset. But it was like I will pick at you and want to know why you think like that, because I would like to know why they're programmed like that. And after an hour of them doing the worst mental gymnastics, it would just refer to them just being, I'm just racist. That's how I am. I don't care. And it's that right there is what's disheartening about it. So I tell people, when you look at the system and you look at like the world that we live in, you brought up stock markets. Awesome. That stock markets is a good way, if you know the stock markets, how to get money. But at the same time, we need to recognize what the stock market is. It's just a bigger scale of a drug game, right? The stock market is no different than me going to you, yo, McLean, I'm gonna give you 2 racks so you can re-up, just hit me whatever on the off end. The stock market is just a legal version of that. So when we talk about systems at play, like socialism, for instance, socialism means it's just an economic function where the means are owned by the workers. The workers owns the means of production. Capitalism is the means of production are owned privately. When we look at Scandinavian countries, those aren't socialist countries. Those are still capitalist countries with high social programs, great social programs.
To add to what you're saying, there has never been ever a full communist or full socialist country. You're taking a percentage of it, and you're
Mhm.
using it in a democracy. Okay,
Mhm.
that's all it really
Yeah,
is.
but my critique on those social democracies, which are still capitalist countries that have social programs, is that they are still they still rely on the exploitation of the global south. They still rely on the exploitation of the Caribbean islands. They still rely on the exploitation of the continent of Africa. So those countries may have universal health care or may have universal college, but their economic system still is a system of Western imperialism, still
Oh,
is a
right,
system of white supremacy.
right. Yo, listen.
Yeah.
We are light years
Mhm.
away from European. Europeans are so advanced. We have. Listen, by the time
No, but what I'm saying is that their structures, they could be advanced, but their structures still rely on South American countries being exploited, still rely on African countries being exploited, still rely
yeah,
on
yeah,
and that's what needs to be dismantled.
yes, yes. But as far as us as individual minorities,
Mhm.
black, elevating.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, we at some point we gotta play the game. It's like if we're having a chess game, the what a lot of times is going on is every time white makes a move, black person cries.
Mhm.
And it's like, when are you gonna, the time is running out,
Mhm.
this game is dying. When are you gonna move a piece? When are you
Mhm.
gonna answer back and create pressure on the other end? Like what you said before about unions.
Mhm.
When are you going to promote your pawns? And that's a big, if you look at the strategy of chess, that is a big factor.
Mhm.
If a black can promote its pawns, it is game over.
But
It's
we've
game
but
over.
that's been tried in history. You know,
Well, the
Malcolm
thing
X
is
was
that
killed,
they,
Martin Luther King was killed, Medgar Evers was killed. You know, James Baldwin passed away. You know, there's been so many leaders that whenever the black pieces do try to rise up, the white pieces change the rules of the game.
no, what's going on is, yes, but what's going on is that, see, white is intercepting that by stopping the movement.
Mhm.
That's what you're seeing. But the way you can create what's called an offset or an imbalance, like how Mayweather counters.
Mhm.
The way May see, I was telling my boy this because he's very fundamental in his biblical studies, and he thinks that everything is just a prophecy, and he gets mesmerized by this mysticism. And I told him, I said, what is easier to predict, a reaction or a plan? And he says, a plan. I said, well, when you saw Mayweather do a prediction or a prophecy, as you said, you thought it was a reaction. That's why you get oohed eyed. You're like, oh shit, he's so fast. His vision. You know what I mean? So they said all these things, but it was planned. It's called a setup.
Mhm.
And this there has to be a plan or setup to offset the systematic white bullshit that's going on right now.
Mhm.
And how do you do that? That unbalance is you do as you said, you create, listen, black people, and this was a statistic done around like 2010 or something. Black people spent about, at that time, $1.3 billion in Christmas gifts. Just Christmas. Now it's probably maybe on its way to 3 billion. But if you have the money to do that, we have the money to create GoFunds
Mhm.
and things that create firms that pay lawyers to exhaust
Mhm.
these cops, these fuckers
Mhm.
that get away with this. You know,
Mhm.
there's another politician, I believe his name is Schmidt. He was a hard right wing, and now he's the left, Democratic left. And he said, look, there's only two ways that you're gonna beat your enemy. You either have to make them submit and bend the knee, or you beat them to exhaustion. Exhaustion is something that a lot of people don't use as a tactic. We always think that you win an argument or you win a fight through a knockout.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just got to kill the lion by making them run a lot.
Mhm.
And, we have to start doing that, and by teaching the young folks and do it discreetly. Maybe that's why. You know what? maybe that's one of our problems. And I'm glad that we're talking about this because no fucking sparkling in my mind just now. You know, a lot of people's problems is that they tell the devil what their plan is.
Yeah.
Thing to do. It's like saying, "Yo, I'm never gonna drink again. You'll never get me in the bottle again." And by you just saying that, he says, "Okay, Poppy, no problem." And then he sends Stacy with the bottle that sparkles and shit, the champagne to you, and does a titty shot, and now you're back in the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
You keep announcing your plans. What would I tell you my move in chat? That's the dumbest thing. So all these speeches and stuff, yes, it's inspirational stuff, but maybe these things should be done discreetly so no motherfucking Martin Luther Kings and shit get killed again.
Mm-hmm.
We should be teaching about these finances and stuff, man. And a lot of people will promote themselves, business owners, and we can be getting away with a lot of this if you're in power.
I'm 100% on board with you, but you got to look at the system, how it was structured, right? Look at public education. One of my big time, how can I say, is people that I listen to for like speeches and stuff like that is Fred Hampton. You know, Fred Hampton, who was killed. The movie that came out, Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah.
He had a speech out there that wasn't included in the movie, and I'm upset that it wasn't included in the movie. He has a speech that says that he's having a meeting with other members of different charters of the Black Panther, and they're talking about coming up with a community bank, you know, like a what is those small banks? Oh god, the name's credit unions, a small credit union. You know, one of the like, credit unions when they were first established, that was supposed to be for the people, by the people, a bank for the people, by the people. How it was when it first came up. So Fred Hampton said, "This is awesome, phenomenal, a bank for the people." Da da da. Fred Hampton said the most important thing is education. He was like, because you can have this bank here, right? And this bank, people will come out, get money, do whatever we want, blah, blah, blah. He was like, but then you just created a class of Black capitalists. You know, he was like, we can have this. He was like, but that's going to lead into a Black imperialist. He was like, education is what's important. If you teach people socialism is for the people, you know, you could have, like, he brought up the dude from Haiti at the time that Papa Doc got rid of everything white. Like, you had a white piece of paper, that motherfucker would throw that shit, burn that shit up and punch you in the face with the ashes from the white paper, you know. But he was an imperialist, you know, he was a nationalist, and that is what Fred Hampton taught, not allowing that to become the mindset. Because me and you, we could try to do everything, you know. And I always tell people, if we overthrow this government, this fascist government that we know, right? But then we become in power, but we use the same tools of a fascist that we threw to keep our power. That doesn't make us no difference than the fascists that we just overthrew. Of course, yeah. You know, and that's the problem when you speak to like white America. Their fear is that they're scared if we get power or you get power, we're due to them what was done to our ancestors. But the difference is that our ancestors, right? Generational trauma is passed through generation, you know, right. Just like generational anger and generational homicide tendencies is passed through generations. You know, everybody is quick to say, oh, Black Lives Matter, but what about Black on Black crime? You know, look at the home statistics, you know, not that many people get married, da da da. Every mass shooter in the United States had both mother and father at the home. Every mass shooter in the United States came from a family in the suburb. So don't give me that bullshit. If you really want to talk about the issue, we can talk about gun violence. We can talk about gun laws.
That's called moving the goalposts, buddy. Yep. You know, that's every time. Yeah, every time you get it right, they move the goalposts and they switch around the numbers and the statistics and the probabilities and the chances of it happening to me versus you. And at the end of the day, yes, you know, the system is broken. Mm-hmm. It's very broken. However, constantly, listen, I like what Farrakhan said when he said, stop asking them to do things for you when you can do it for yourself. We have the power, in a sense, to build that and plant that tree and do it ourselves using our own money. But again, we're waiting for bills and things to get passed that are in benefit for minorities, and they take decades to go through. And it's like, when are you going to stop waiting? When are you going to, you know what I'm saying? It's just at some point, being so analytical puts you in analytical paralysis. Mm. When you are constantly analyzing, and it never comes to fruition, you now have an analytical paralysis. You cannot stop doing it. And because of that, what does paralysis mean? It means you stand still.
Mm-hmm.
Things that stand still don't get nothing done. It's the doers, the go-getters, the teachers, the
Mm-hmm.
people that are putting their monies, the people that are creating programs. It's those people that are going to be the ones that change the system, enforce the system to bend the knee, whether through submission or exhaustion, like we was discussing before.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, at some point, and a lot of celebrities do that too. A lot of celebrity, and that's why I hate that shit, because you actually have the money, the capital to like, what I'm saying, Big Bang Theory start this shit off. And you just talking about the system too. A lot of people have the power to do that. And they don't. They actually use that as a way to get notoriety and to market themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't
There's some bad faith actors out there. I will acknowledge that they just
bad
use
things, bro.
situations, that the moral compass is not in the right place. But at the same time, there are some people that are trying to enact change. Like we definitely need to have legislation change. Like that needs to be that we. I get what you're saying. I totally agree. For us, by us, do it by us. But at the same time, we need to have legislation in place so what we do can't get changed 50 years
Now,
after we pass
who,
away, right?
who in legislation, right? This is a question, right? Who in legislation, at what is going to make him go to his desk and start the paperwork for that program and that process or that legislation?
When we put
What
the
is gonna make
fire on his ass, because me and you, right? Me and you, say like for instance, boom, tomorrow, me and you, we get blessed with 50 million each, right? So boom, we're to do a massive program on homelessness in the United States. We're going to go to California, we're going to go to Los Angeles, we're going to take 500 homeless people, right? We're going to put them in hotels for the next 2 or 3 months. Cool, they got 3 meals a day. Does that solve the root issue? Does that go to enact change? What does that help? What does that help do? Does that just help the hotel industry book rooms for the next 3 months?
No, but yes, but I wouldn't even go that route. What I would do is I would build schools that teach and have a focal point, just like how in our trade school, a lot of people go to college and they don't have a focal point like someone who's going to a trade school doing electric. When you go to a trade school and you do electric, you know what you're getting into. You know that you're going to start doing electric. When you go to school, it's this or it's that. And that confusion is just money into their pocket. So what we need to do is, if I had, let me tell you something right now. I have some investments myself. And if one of those investments makes me into a 2.2 millionaire, then what I would do is I'll create a school that only teaches about finance. And I would have discounts for the first batch to launch that shit off. And then after that, I would charge full price, because at some point, if you really want it, you got to know how to pay for it. A lot of people, we look at our dollar and we say, but I need that dollar, though. I need that penny because I have a bill.
I get that, but how many people you think would be vital to having or going to your school but can't afford it?
You got to excite them, like how I excite them as a teacher.
No. I'm talking about like affording it. Like I'm talking about like say like a charter school. Charter schools, they're trying to push for your parent choice, student choice, right? Give your parent, give you a voucher to take to a charter school instead of
I would make a class. Let's say, for example, like if we were to make a real syllabus, right? I would make a class where it ain't gonna be no 18 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand. That's detrimental to someone who's trying to get on. I would make it maybe like an $8,500 program with 3 courses, just 3, and I would have it so you could spread it out over 72 months. That's very affordable. And you do that, and you teach kids about ETFs and index funds and sectors and options trading and what's rate and what is capital gains tax. How do we use all this as a benefit to gain our dollar and not have a fear of investments? Brother, you're creating a whole shitload of Supermans in the neighborhood. And then those kids start expanding and exciting each other, just like how we have Robin Hood, just like how we have Webull now. Everybody's all excited about, and they still don't know how to invest because they're not learning. They got a $1,000 phone in their hand. They got all the answers to the world, and they still don't know how to invest. But something excited them.
Well,
and yeah.
to be a daytime trader, right? You have to
Yeah.
have minimum of like 50 grand in the bank. That's why these apps
25,000. However,
25 and one, and then another 25 and a backup one to cover losses.
well, no. Well, what I'm
That's
from,
why these apps, Robinhood and Weibo, are being used because Robinhood and Weibo are acting like you're 25, you're 25. They're presenting to you. They're
Off Weibo, all you have to do is this. If you stay, and you can still make a lot of money with options and stuff.
no.
As
I'm
long
not saying you can't, but what I'm saying is that Robinhood and Weibo are acting like the middleman now. Now you just gave another person PC of your of what you are investing because you don't have the initial capital to be the daytime trader. And not that many people in our neighborhood.
as long as you understand, look, the law of power. One of the laws of power that I always follow in the block, and it's like built in me at this point, is if I have an issue, shoot the shepherd and the sheep will scatter.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is mastering timing.
Mm-hmm.
Timing is a key thing. If I want something done, if I see that a stock may go up, and I do analytics, I read the news, and I saw what their market cap was, and I saw where they're going, I really believe in this company. I could ask for one of my accounts to withdraw the money, which takes 5 days. But before then, I do a beginning transfer to the one that I have my money in, which takes 2 days. And all the timing will allow me to purchase on the day that I want to, which maybe, let's say Tuesday, which will allow me to buy stock. If I want to buy and sell as almost on the same volume of frequency as a day trader, all I got to do is just make sure I sell the next day. I just can't buy it that same day. So there are ways around that you can still make a lot of money and not have an EM call or a PTD call with saying, "Oh, you got to give us 25,000 now, otherwise you can't do it. We'll just shut your shit down." You see what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but my thing is that you see how you just pinpointed at finance way or whatever for the stock market. You could do the same thing, right? But switch it to a workers' own co-op. Switch it to a community-owned co-op when it comes to like supermarkets. There are places in this country, like you ever heard of it's like some random ass the Quakers. You know the Quakers in the United States. You ever heard of the Quakers? The Quakers are some like religion people, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. They have worker-owned co-op, worker-owned industries. If you go to Bed Bath and Beyond, majority of the shit from Bed Bath and Beyond are made by Quakers or made worker-owned co-ops through the Quakers. They're communities that sell and make they own everything. Just like you got parts of the United States that the electric grid, right? You got parts of the United States that you know you have small towns, rural towns. Their electric grid is owned 80% worker co-op. It's owned by the town. The town owns and gets to operate it. We can have the same thing with worker-owned co-ops.
Let me ask you this. So are you saying that there are so many restrictions within the stock market that suppress the ability to make a lot of money or gains that would change an individual life?
What I'm saying is that the people in the stock market, right, that are running the stock market, there's a big difference between a shareholder and a stockholder. For every one share for every stock that you own, a share owner has 330 percentiles of power over your one stock. There's a big difference between a shareholder and a stockholder. Shareholders are the ones that vote who's the CEO for a board, CEO for a company. You know, everybody wants to think that Elon Musk don't own Tesla. Not at all. Elon Musk knows the shareholders of the board and was voted to represent Tesla. Elon Musk, he's a great product of capitalism by hiring his best PR to have people thinking that he's fucking Iron Man when he's dumb as shit. Elon Musk's family's money comes from blood diamond or part-time mines. That's where his money comes from. Elon Musk, when he got money from his father, the PayPal, you know, the app PayPal, the person was making the website for PayPal, didn't have the money. Elon Musk bought it from that person and made PayPal what it was. He's a scam artist. All these major they're all scam artists that their money, if you trace back to all their money, all their generational wealth comes from Western imperial expansion. You know, so it's kind of hard for us to get a seat at the table when they done had a 300-year head start.
Well, again,
because if you have worker-owned co-ops, they won't get no part of it. It will be us.
I see what you're saying, but how many rich people in history that we've read about hundreds of millionaires and billionaires that come from nothing. You know what I'm saying? From Rockefeller ages on, and one of them, I don't know if it was J.P. Morgan or Rockefeller. One of them quoted saying, and he grew up homeless. You know what I'm saying? He grew up poor under a poverty. He said, all the answers are in the library. And it sounds cliche. It sounds corny, right? But in this day, our library is the computer, right?
Mhm.
I come from a place where I stopped looking at structures. And it's kind of like, like in the playground, the kid that kind of like went in the corner, did his own thing, and everybody else is over here. And then you wonder why this guy doesn't want to fuck with everybody else. Or why this guy feels, at the end of the day, he's doing something. He's so focused on it and he has such confidence in it that you end up graduating and you end up finding out that he becomes this great CEO or business owner because he was so focused on what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? But
don't think I'm laughing at you, dog. It's hilarious you brought up Rockefeller, right? Because literally I was just doing research on this shit or whatever.
yeah.
Rockefeller family, Scott Irish.
Yes.
Andrew Jackson, Scott Irish. The Scott Irish, the South that we know, what it racist South, when the Europeans came up, the Scott Irish, the ones that slaughtered and genocide the Irish people, they were the ones that went down south. The Scott Irish.
Okay.
The Scott Irish is what created the racist South that we know. So you bring it up, Rockefeller, which he came from a poor Cleveland family, right? But at 1839, he had white privilege. He was able to operate in the United States. And when you you tell people these stories and you see like the history of the United States, right? The American Revolution. Can you tell me what the American Revolution was about? What they tell us in school it was about? It was taxation without representation.
Yeah.
Right? What was they being taxed on? There was three things they were being taxed on. The Stamp Act. The Stamp Act was the Crown wanted any official paperwork document comes from their textile company. That's one. Two, the Crown was taxing the American colonies for reparations and money lost because of the French and Indian War. You know, when the colonies try to go into Canada and try to genocide the Indians up there, but they got their ass fucking kicked by the Indians and by the French people. And the third was the Crown at the time was trying to abolish slavery in their colonies. We went to war, the American Revolution, because they wanted to keep slavery. That has to be acknowledged. Slave capital, when slaves were being sold as cattle, George Washington was a realtor speculator. He made his money on speculation on indigenous land. That's where he made his money. So when you talk about these people at the stock market, it's all threaded into the fabric of this country of where it was founded.
I get that, but at some point, when do we stop analyzing and make individual solutions to change?
But we've tried individual solutions, and anytime that we try, Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was Black Wall Street. That black people try to make their own community, and white people came in and fucking obliterated them. Then when you have North Carolina, Greenwood, North Carolina, the same thing. Greenwood, North Carolina was the same thing. Then you go to South Carolina to Gullah Gullah Island. Gullah Gullah Island was the same thing. It was an island that black people decided to make our own for us, by us. Industrialists came in, kicked them all out, genocide them out.
So now we just gonna stop because every time something launches off like Black Wall Street or the places that you mentioned in, we're just gonna keep looking at the infrastructure and say how unfair it is.
No, because in 2021 they can't do that same bullshit like they used to do before. You know, the Civil Rights Act didn't get passed until 2 months of rioting in the streets because Martin Luther King was killed. That's when the Civil Rights Act got passed. It wasn't because white people decided, you know what, we'll just give these motherfuckers rights. No, it was a 2 months period of after Martin Luther King was killed, of the reaction in the streets.
That's right.
Then they use that as like, you know what? Now we're going to take our businesses and go overseas. No, you use that because at the time they laid out phone lines from the United States to other continents. So it was easy for the capitalists just to sit back at home, call up the factory in Asia and ask if the workers were working. He couldn't do that before.
Yeah. But I mean, again, like, I just feel like when conversations like this occur, there's always an example that shows the effort and then how it was stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, when is that gonna end? You know what I'm saying? Like, like my dad right now, like he he has a program where he has 20, 25 people on Zoom because of COVID. But before then, men's group and stuff, these are guys that come from Brooklyn, the Bronx, and he educates them.
Mm-hmm.
One guy got into financing and business and banking, broke out of his family household.
Mm-hmm.
Even came out to his parents. Even had the courage to fucking come out. You know what I'm saying? We didn't even know he was gay. Like, but got into banking, got his first house. Uh, my man's best friend, he had a hard life. Same thing. He just got his first house.
Mm-hmm.
These are people that are making individual changes. This is a spiritual and a metaphysical change that you have to make.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, you could beat up the world or try to beat up the world and say it's unfair and that all these things occur, which they did, and which you must pay respects to and much educate the next generation. A lot of historical content of Black history has been removed in the South. Same thing if you go to Israel. They don't teach about Palestine. They ripped them shits out of textbooks. So yes, there's a mind control, but we also now have the means to unfold those illusions, those matrices, or even like in Japanese, the genjutsus, right? The illusions that have taken place over America. So we have the means at this point, and I do see change. When somebody takes the initiative and says enough.
Mm-hmm.
I want control of my life. I don't want someone controlling my dollar. I want to make my own dollar. And with that being said, I can support and feed and teach others around me. And that's how change is really done. It has to start on a micro level, but start before it becomes a macro level. Everything starts from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing starts outside in. We as people, we believe that God started from outside and created something. Big Bang Theory says it's the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Something went from inside and some we don't know where
Yeah.
and blew the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
And so if everything that was designed in physics, in quantum physics, says that things go from inside out, this all starts from the individual first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm trying to say.
That was bars right there. That was bars. That was bars. You brought that full circle. It was like 30 seconds. I was like, where is he going? Bars.
Where is he going to jump right around? Just 100 mile dash. 30 seconds. But, I just, at some point and I can't help. It's in me to say, what are we going to do next? Well, we could do this, we could do that. I can't. It's so hard for me at this point to say, well, bro, you should take it easy on me because you know what it's like out there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't relate with that.
No, I get what you're saying, and that's why I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I always tell people, all right, cool. Whenever I hear someone like lay out what you just laid out, which is a total reasonable way of viewing things, let's take that view and now let's analyze it on a bigger scale. So let's say, for instance, everybody did what you said. Every individual in this country decided to do for them, educate themselves, do what they had to do. Do you think that everyone could be an accountant? Do you think that there are enough positions for everyone to be an accountant? Or just like some people say, oh, be your own business owner, start your own bit. You think everyone could be a business owner? It's so much finite resources left on this planet, so when you have a capitalistic system that the means and everything is privatized for a minority profit, you're going to have parts of society that are poor. You're gonna have that's why unemployment is set up. Unemployment is awesome and helps people. It's a great thing or whatever, but they didn't put in a safeguard to it, because the capitalist uses unemployment as a tool to control his workers. He uses minimum wage as a tool to control his worker, because if you don't want to do the job, dog, hit the fucking road, get on unemployment for 7 fucking weeks, go find another fucking job. Someone else is gonna come here and fill your fucking slot. So if we had, say, like when Amtrak was first introduced, right? Amtrak is a government run program, is a government owned business. Amtrak was introduced at a time where private railroad industries own all the railroads. We're shutting out the regular person, you and I, from going from New York to across the middle of the country. You know,
That's
so
what we call blueprint.
Amtrak was put in place to allow me and you to control the market, to make sure that the cost wasn't so high. You know, why isn't there a fucking Amtrak for the planes? Why isn't there a fucking Amtrak for the buses? You know, so when you look at that and people talk about, oh, but you want government to run everything, you control government. I was like, yeah, but you have faith in big business whose only fucking motive is profit. So you would rather pay a private tax on something that is 10 times more than what you would pay on a public tax or something.
I hear that. I'll say this, right? And if you look at the East, people they have something called they have yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you look at the horoscopes and shit, they have every animal has yin yang and an element with that. And one of the elements that I would say is very special, can take a lot of pressure. It's called yin earth, like soil, right? And that's being resourceful, produces plants, produces, fruit, produces gold, metal, minerals. Resourcefulness is a very key thing. Like, I have a coworker of mine. This guy he has a kid now. He has a family now. He moved here from Guyana and he started over. He's here by himself. And I told him, I said, yo, I showed him my phone of the investments I had and how much they've grown. Some of them have grown over 66%, 32%. Some of them are giving me $250 a month. What am I doing? I'm sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And he says, yeah, but you know something? I can't do that. I'll be honest with you. I can't do it because I have a family. And now I said to him, I said, how much is all your debt? Oh, I don't have any debt. I have like $400 on a credit card. That's it. No student loan, no auto loan, nothing. And I said, man, if you heard the debt that I had, it would make your head spin. He was like, and debt, by the way, in finance is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, so I tell him the numbers, $2,000 here, $3,000 here, $8,000 there, $14,000 there. And he's like, bro, how are you living? How are you even standing here and not exhausted? And how do you not do overtime to make up for this debt? And I told him, I said, the timing of my finances, like you said, credit unions, a lot of people don't even know about that. Interest rates, they don't even know how to do basic math, bro. Our culture hates math, can't stand it. And if they just knew just that alone, they would understand their finances way more, where their money's getting leaked out, how they're getting rates. When you can have a loan for 3% over here instead of paying 22.5% on a credit card over there. That's a big difference. Mm-hmm. Your auto loan is in the wrong place. Everything is in the wrong place because you are not resourceful and you don't have the industrial wit and grit to be industrial and look for angles. Mm-hmm. How to make it. Imagine this, right? Because I said it starts on an individual. Imagine if every Black household was scheming. Like really planning and teaching each other, bro, why are you doing this way? Go over there. You save 10, 15% over there. Why did you finance over there? Go over there. Why are you using that brokerage firm? Go over there. And learn, you see what I'm saying? And how does that start? From young. You know, an entrepreneur, you probably read his book, Robert Kiyosaki,
I haven't read his book, but I know of him, yeah.
He said a very interesting fact. I never really looked at it this way. He says, being rich is almost, or basically, genetically prone into people. When you see a white child growing up, he's hearing his daddy talking on the phone. And he's talking about finances and he's talking about deals and he's seeing the boastfulness and the bravado of all these things that his father's doing. And he wants to walk and talk like his father. So he learns these things very, very, very early. He learns these terms very early. And language is a big thing. And, I draw everything back to language. If I'm talking about a neutral, I'll even talk about the philosophy of how we even use it in our language, in English. So language is very key. Your environment, you kind of start young when the brain is at its delta. There's many frequencies that the brain goes through. Huh?
No, it's like a baby. A baby is like a sponge.
It's like a sponge. In the beginning of our lives, we are at delta, the peak, where wavelengths are nice and smooth, where you can learn 5 languages, calculus, and know and develop yourself all at the same time. Because we just absorbing. You don't question shit. It's don't touch that. Don't do this. That's hot. That's not you. This is you. This is your name. This is what we speak. This is where we come from. This is where we live. You're downloading. But when we get older, we get into alpha, which means we just do. We just do. You know how to drive. You can drive with one knee, drink coffee, be on the phone, and look at the lights and know where you're going. You're not learning shit. You're not downloading your environment. But if we create that environment for our young ones, then where they will be is insane. Imagine a 9-year-old knowing about stocks. That's amazing.
I'll take it a step further to what you were saying. That little white kid that's listening to his father is the capitalist that's running shit. So
That's
he's
true.
learning from his father. You know, when you look at public schools or when you look at schooling in the United States, public school, the structure of public school was created in 1878. The layout for public school, it has not changed since 1878.
Right.
At the time, 1878, what was going on with child labor? They were producing workers for the factory. So in the society that we're living, we're conditioned from a young age to automatically, by the time you're 18 years old, to be used to that factory floor, to be used to a worker. So when you're in public school, you have a bell at the beginning of the day to let you know when school starts. You have a bell after every period to let you know where to go. And you have a bell at the end of the day to tell you when to go home. That's just like the capitalistic structure, the worker structure that was set up in 1878 when the public school structure was set up in 1878. Public schooling, there's different versions of public. There's so many different versions of just schooling in general. There's different abstract versions where you don't even need a fucking pen and pad. 6 kids in the class going out, going to a museum and learning in the museum and stuff like that. Stuff that we haven't been able to figure the fuck out. We've been conditioned from a young age, especially when you come from schools that we come from. Overcrowded, 40 kids in the classroom. You got metal detectors in the front. Even though you got brand new metal detectors, you got textbooks from 1996. They got your fucking older sister, older brother's name scribbled in the book for when they went to that same school.
At some point, you gotta say fuck school, because at the end of the day, look at all these. Look, an electrician makes just as much as a surgeon.
Yeah, but electrician, that right there needs to be taught in high school. That needs to be able to be taught in high school, just like animation. There's so much. So animation is not being taught in high school. That needs to be taught as well. Graphic design,
but it is a problem in the schools, yes, because at the end of the day, if you learn these things, right? If everybody was a wolf, there would be no business.
Yeah.
That's why they do that on purpose. If everything in business was in books, ready for you, you wouldn't need the class. But they make this class so that they can generate large amounts of wealth that is for the institution. Those business classes is bullshit. The guy that's teaching that class is only using 20% of that whole book. He doesn't give a fuck about all the rules. He already found a blueprint. He learned from young how to operate a business. And again, when we talk about business, we're not even talking about a large firm or corporation. A lot of people can start their own mom pop businesses. Over 60% of this entire country is ran by small businesses.
I'm so for it. Like if you look at like the unemployment structure in Italy, for instance, right? If you're on unemployment in Italy, you have 2 options. First option is stay on unemployment for 2 years, receive like 60 to 70 grand worth for unemployment within those 2 years so you could go to school, try to better yourself or whatever. Or the second option is me, you, and 8 other unemployed Italians, we get together and the government will upfront the money to us, to all 10 of us, so we can start our own workers co-op. Italy is leading the world in worker co-ops, small businesses, worker-owned businesses. That's Italy. That's why Italy bounced back from the 2008 economic crisis. Because what happened was they saw that the economy was fucked up, that people weren't working, so they gave you unemployment for 2 years, and they gave you money to upfront and start your own business.
Yes, and see the thing is though is that in black in this country, when that discussion takes place, they're not going to do that.
No, they'll label black and brown people as welfare queens, even though the suburbs take more money from the cities to subsidize the suburbs. Because if you have a house in the suburbs, you're paying property tax, but that property tax does not cover the road that you have to drive to work, does not cover the fucking public school. So a lot of people got to misconstrue. Like when subsidies, that's one thing. Subsidies that black and brown people take advantage of or demonize, but subsidies that white people take advantage of aren't demonized. We get looked down on for taking out government handouts. Levittown, PA was the first suburb ever fucking made that was used for money from housing and urban development.
I will say this though, because going back to the educational thing, see, people in Italy are much more educated than we are over here. So when they take out a loan, they know exactly what they're doing. You give us a loan, we don't know where the fuck we even looking on the map. So that's part of the educational system because again.
But they have those classes in private schools.
Yeah, but when you got guys, look, by the time a kid reaches calculus here, they already did that considered in 8th grade in Europe. Calculus. You know what I'm saying? Like advanced algebra. By the time we get to it here, they did that 4 years ago at the same age. So it's like when you're that educated, you're that well-rounded, you know every language that's around every country that surrounds you.
Yeah.
You know, you're much more witty and you know exactly what to do. And for us, our education is so ass that if you give us a loan, we are not going to know what to do. So by doing what you said in the beginning, my brother, which is to educate, which is what Fred Hampton said, to educate creates awareness. When you have awareness, you have options. When you have options, you finally now possess power, real power.
Because when you're educated, you're not afraid to question the system that's in front of you.
Right,
if you was to ask Italian or European high schooler what socialism is, they would give you a better fucking answer than I would give you. But you ask some stupid ass American what socialism is, or they was, it's the government doing shit and no iPhones.
Because it's that barbershop shit. That's barbershop talk. You know what I'm saying? Like you go to the barbershop and it's like, okay, you figured out what Bush did, you figured out what Obama did, you figured out like what new bill is probably gonna be signed. And we're always in the past. You know what I'm saying? Black people, not black people, but a lot of people of minorities, we don't like the news. We think it's negative. Because it is negative. And I'll give that credit to that. It is very negative. But if you don't know bills that are affecting you, if you don't know politicians that are being put that represent you, you are always a slave. So again, the human mind, reality is only what you see. Literally. If a tree falls in your body, you fucking know about it. So reality is only what you see. So we have about 4 million bits of information that are around us per second, and the human mind can only download about 2,000 bits per second. So if you increase that to 4,000, 6,000, well, bro, my man, you are on a whole other level of consciousness. We have to be aware of these options. By definition, if you are not educated about these things, you are a slave. It's kind of like why Con Edison makes it so hard for you to find an application.
I've been trying for the longest.
We still looking today. If you are aware of how to search, right, you'll find it. When you find it, they see that you found them and say, okay, well, this motherfucker's smart. But they make it hard for you because that's already filtering the 75% of the dummies that are trying to get in. If you're not even smart enough to find the application, well, we don't even need you for the interview process because you don't even know what's available to you. And you're not even industrious to find us. So we got to really start educating young. And there needs to be programs and after school programs, keep kids out of trouble, maybe creating a reward. If you're good, we'll push you on a basketball league, and I'll give you a sense of stature.
And not even basketball, like arts, fine arts. I know. You were just saying it just to say.
Yeah, like, you know.
What's upsetting to me is like I always go forward and I'm gonna keep on pushing it. It's these rich motherfuckers, these 1%ers. It's like you take the 118 billionaires that live in New York City alone, just in New York City. You take 118 of them, put them on an island, give them their own island. Their GDP is third, will be the highest GDP in the world behind the United States and China, right? We have in this country almost 700,000 homeless people in this country, right? While at the same time having over 7 million renting units empty.
Listen, there is no question that the wealth gap is so ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if you took all 50 of the richest people in America, they own 66% of the economy. 66%. That's just the top 50 richest people in America. 66%. That's literally 2/3.
So look at Sweden, right? Sweden, for instance, right? The United States was so fucking greedy, right? Even the billionaires are fucking greedy because when you look at Sweden, when you look at Denmark, they produce more billionaires per capita than the United States. It's just the United States billionaires have more money than them.
You just hit it though. That word is the fundamental difference between us and them.
Greed.
They every year, like the CEO of Ducati, when they said, yo, your profit margins is only a couple thousand off from the United States. And he says, okay. He goes, so why not your workers work harder than me? They get 2-hour lunch breaks. They get 3 months vacation stock and a 4th month that don't even exist. There ain't no 13 months in a year. They're getting a bonus by working harder. Why not make them work harder? The CEO says something that I don't think any CEO in America would say, which is, why make them work harder when I have it all?
I know exactly what you're saying. He said right afterward, a happy worker is a great business owner.
Exactly. And we don't care about the worker. We care that we want to keep giving the horse hay, and we never want to give him a sugar cube once in a while. So this idea of work, margins. How can I beat my quota from last year? How can I get more from last year? How do I, and not instead of just saying I got to this level, how do I sustain? No, it's how can I always get more? That is the difference between American capitalism and European capitalism. They know when to stop. Greed, by definition, is
because they had how many fucking revolutions? How many times the workers but then when you look at that, right? That's what.
But they also, even though they started racism in a sense because they were the ones fucking the world, they also have their slavery was not as brutal as ours. So they're able to get over. They're able to get over this shit a little easy. I'm not saying that it's not there, because there are many thousands of complaints of racism in Europe. But what I'm saying is that the level that it affects the individual is not as much.
But to understand like the level of the level of even the worst horror movie cannot replicate what went on.
Big fact.
Like anyone out there that is a horror screenwriter, any horror can never replicate what went on.
If you read what's in history books, shit will discuss. My mom's in the story. You know what I'm saying? She has 2 master's degrees in American Revolutionary History. It's like when she reads to me the stories, the punishments, bro, you can write horror movies with that shit. Fuck trying to outdo them. You could just use them shits.
Bro, when they brought natives and indigenous native and indigenous people back to Europe, they had them chained, shackled. If one of them would die, it was easy for them to cut that person's head off and cut his hands off instead of unshackling the entire line just to get rid of that body. So to get rid of that dead
Yeah.
body in the middle of the 10 or 5 people, they will cut his head off and cut his hands off to toss the body off the boat instead of unshackling them.
You know that Alexander Hamilton's straddles for his horse were made out of Indian skin. I mean, this is brutal. This is like disgusting. This is beyond, like, you could write horror movies. Fuck out doing them. These are the horror movies. You see me? But it's like, again, bro, at some point, this creates a nausea. Constantly thinking about this stuff. And
it does. It gets you sick to your fucking stomach. And then when you analyze history, I know you said, like, when do we stop analyzing? But when you analyze history, it's the same TV show being replayed 30-minute periods at a time. You know, when you look at the, like, World War II, right?
Yes.
And Hitler's march in Europe and for World War II, the countries that he took over, France, Italy, you know, Eastern Europe, Poland, Hungary, those were the countries that had the biggest to do when it came to the Enlightenment period in Europe that ended feudalism, you know. So when Hitler was making his march towards Russia, Stalin came to the crown and to the US and said, please help us. They said, no, fuck you. We're gonna let you fucking burn. So when we got involved, when D-Day happened, a lot of people don't know this. When World War II, when D-Day happened, Russia was literally marching down Berlin, was literally in fucking Berlin. We got in at the end, so we wouldn't look like the assholes that didn't want to help in.
Another thing too is that instead of the glorification of these Europeans and the brutal shit they did, they don't even give us the credit that is due when we do some shit. Like in Haiti, they don't give the
speak on it.
They do not give Toussaint and them the credit of starting that revolution because everybody was too pussy.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, when Columbus, I believe, when he was doing the Louisiana Purchase, that was
because he lost Haiti. He spent 2 years trying to get Haiti back. Oh, my guy.
So without that going on, right? Without the Louisiana Purchase going on, that revolution would take place, and with that, other countries wouldn't have followed what Haiti did.
Yep.
But people don't give Haiti that kind of credit, and it's because of that. It's because of the lack of teaching. Like, for example, the guy that created, first of all, like we were talking about in class, Thomas Edison did not create the light bulb. No. It was Lewis Latimer who advanced it. They don't talk about him in school.
And Lewis Latimer, to this day, there's a fucking light bulb that's like in some firehouse in the middle of fucking Ohio that's been burning for over 150 years because of Lewis H. Latimer.
It's crazy.
And what it was, the capitalists that owned the light bulb companies, they were coming out with light bulbs that would last for like 17 hours, 18 hours. And then some started coming out with light bulbs that would last for a long time, 100 hours. They came, the four major companies came together and had a silent agreement. All right, we're going with the government's approval and government regulation and government oversight. They came up with the idea that, okay, we're going to make light bulbs to only be able to last for 30 hours. You know, we're not going to compete with each other in the market, and we're going to periodically send each other light bulbs so we could test them. And if yours is better than mine, I'm going to sue you and fine you. And the government actually ran that program.
That's right.
Because there was no financial benefit in making a light bulb that lasts for a long time.
Like how many times have you heard in schools that they're teaching about like Charles Drew? Nobody, they should, but this is what I'm saying. This is the psychological illusion that is casted around our system. By removing the history, you're doing just as much damage as teaching the greatness of whiteness.
90% of Americans don't even know that when George Washington and the American Revolution was going on, George Washington was sending letters back and forth and corresponding with Karl Marx. And Karl Marx was telling him the evil of slavery. Like American students, when I found that shit out, bro, I was... Motherfuckers don't know that Einstein was a fucking socialist. Wow. That Martin Luther King was a fucking socialist. They have whitewashed Martin Luther King so much they don't even show videos of him in color. All they show is black and white, so it can make it looks like, oh, it's an old footage. It's just an old period in time.
That's right. Yes. Again, it's like this is poor. My mom, when she teaches this stuff, she really shows the other side, and her kids are like devastated. They're like,
These are your moms, bro.
yeah. She makes sure that no, we're not gonna just learn about this side. We're gonna learn about the Africans and the Indians that taught whites about spice
Mhm.
and mathematics. And without you guys look at, for example, Middle Easterners or Pakistani people as savage rag wearers. But meanwhile, without them, without the Middle East, you wouldn't even know the concept of zero.
Yep. All algebra.
Algebra,
Mm-hmm.
algebra comes from the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Without that, there would be no banking systems. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, somebody said that.
Without the Middle East, the concept of the free market wouldn't even be around.
Exactly. So we as Americans are very dumb. And we're dumb.
Hogs.
We're just nuts. You know what I'm saying? And we're duds because we're not well rounded. We're not sophisticated enough to travel. Travel is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I got to travel more. You know, when you see other angles, or even are curious to read about other angles, your mind changes and says, "Wow, this was here the whole time."
Mm-hmm.
And whatever I was fighting internally, the answers were here. And, you know, travel is a big thing. You know, when you're just going from state to state and you're not really traveling the world, you are very ignorant.
Yeah.
So we need to look. I'll give you an example, right? Like my dad and I and my brother, he likes to take us to Montana. Montana is, I was like, even me, bro, I'm like, Montana. This is here, right? Like this is, I live here, right? And I'm like, Montana. He does this shit every year. So we finally go with him. And you should have seen some of the white people looking at us like, what do these guys know about hiking? You just say that. Tell your boy, yo, let's go hiking. Niggas gonna be like, what? I'm not doing that. That's a white man thing. Why it gotta be a white man thing? Why can't you explore and finally smell fresh air? You know what I'm saying?
because whenever we used to back in the days, we used to get killed.
But now we don't get killed. You know what I'm saying? If you was to go out there, yo, bro, let me tell you something.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before you say that, last year there was a video that came out. There was a video last year that came out. It was this young black guy. He was walking through the woods with his two friends or whatever, and they were literally attacked by like white nationalists, and they literally was stringing the kid up, and his friends had to fight them off. And this is in 2020. I get what you're saying. I'm not trying to be like negative Nancy. Trust me. Please don't think I'm trying to be a dick. Trust me.
But it's you know,
the same reason why, like my grandfather, right? My grandfather's from Trinidad and Tobago. If people was to see me standing next to my grandfather, God, you know, rest his soul, he's not alive. People wouldn't think that's my grandfather. He's super dark. You know, one thing growing up, he would tell me is that he served in the Vietnam War. He gave me different explanations of like shit that he went through while serving the military for being dark skinned. He was like, I don't eat. I only have my steak well done. I'm like, why? He was like, because I had 3 dudes that were poisoned, that were in my battalion, that were poisoned. He was like, so ever since then, I got my steak well fucking done.
Just to burn it out.
That's genetic trauma that's passed on. You know, there's a lot of people that would tell you why they don't swim because they would hear from their parents shit.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this much. I went to Montana. Ain't nobody lynched me. Ain't nobody.
Yeah.
You know, it's your demeanor, bro. Like, you know, we go out there, we say hi to everybody. I went there with me and my brother. The chances of somebody fucking with us was very slim. Everybody was very friendly. It's just, you know, you got those people once in a while that look and say, "Well, there's got some brothers here." But other than that, it's not as scary as you know we perceive it to be. But we need to start exploring, bro. This lack of refinement. I don't find anybody refined unless they are learned, industrious, and they travel. You know, it's very ignorant to not know what's going on around you, even religiously, bro. Like, we just take the word as the word. And you're not understanding that there's a context, there was a neighborhood, there was a civilization, there was a way of being and historic content around what is being said. And what you're reading is not really what you think it is. And all the others, the mystics, the gurus, the Upanishads, the Hindus, the Buddhists, they all know it except us, because we are so ignorant to learning anything else, and they're all pointing to the same center. We have to start expanding, and it's really bad that we all are so limited. You know, look at this conversation. We just spoke about mad shit, bro.
Yeah. No, but like I agree with you 100%. Travel is important, right? It's like one of my heroes in life is Che Guevara, you know, and if you read his motorcycle diaries, right? The motorcycle diaries will explain to you how he shaped his viewpoints. Che Guevara came from a wealthy family in Argentina. You know, Che Guevara was a Spanish dude who benefited from white privilege, who went to fine schools, who did all this, that, and third. So he had a predisposed notion on indigenous people, on black and brown people in his head that was fed to him as a child, growing up in the environment he grew up in. He decided after he graduated college, after he graduated medical school, right before he became a doctor, he was going to take a motorcycle journey with his best friend through South America. Going through South America and seeing the poverty and seeing the exploitation and seeing the genocide of indigenous people, and him coming to Miami and seeing how black African Americans were treated in the United States, it's what shaped him into the revolutionary that he was. You know, Che Guevara, people like to say in the motorcycle diary, he did write some racist, you know, prejudice shit towards like dark-skinned people at the beginning, but then at the end he said something. He said something that covered it all up. He basically said he could have removed that at the beginning out of the book, but he wanted to leave that to let people know what shaped his viewpoints and thoughts. You know, it wasn't until he experienced shit first on. And half of the times, like whenever you speak to somebody or whatever that they're for like gay rights or trans rights or whatever rights, whatever, the first time they come to that inkling is when it affects them personally, when someone in their family is affected by it. So when you
Kill him.
What happened?
No, I was gonna like my fact finishing.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that when you experience poverty, like look at like Joe Biden, for instance, right? He was the father of the crime bill, whatever, blah, blah, put so many people in jail, da da da. It wasn't until his kid became an addict that he was compassionate. You know, it's not until white America, Ohio, got flooded with opioids and pills that people started looking the drug crisis as a health crisis. You know, before in the 80s, we were thrown in jail.
Yeah,
people were thrown in jail for that shit.
That in Japanese is called katori. That's katori. The satori is when you get hit with an epiphany, you don't need experience. You wake up and you say, wow, this is it the whole time, you know? But katori is you have to learn through experience. And you know, a lot of people who are hard-headed, who, you know, like my family's from Trinidad, and they say, a hard head make a soft behind you.
Yeah.
You have to, if you don't understand, well, your ass gonna get beat by life, like a sword. You know, someone who's like a sword, like they need to be heated up, bashed, sharpened, cooled down, repeat until they are sharp enough that when they do things, they can execute and cut. And that is it is a very big problem. But I think that what's his name said, Killer Mike. He said, what white people need to start doing is they need to go outside their bubble and they need to start talking to black people that they would never talk to. Either first thing you can do is on the job. On the job, you get to know them. You get to know their interpersonal life. You know, someone who maybe is a family friend of yours. Really dissect and live, and you know, go to a church, go to a Methodist church or go to a Lutheran church. You know, go to a church, get out of your bubble and see that the threat that you think is there does not really exist. And the trauma that we have genetically been superimposed on is so strong that we're not going to attack you if we have power.
Exactly.
They need to know that. but they refuse to leave their bubble. And that is why Black people must do what Dave Chappelle said, which was we should all get up and get a gun. Okay, that's I'm sorry. Because they need to learn through authority. They need to learn through if you fuck with me, you will get a bullet in your ass. Okay.
But
And
the capitalist that's controlling the society we live in does not want that to happen. If you look at the news, for instance, right? You look at all these news networks, Fox, MSNBC, CNN, whatever. Those journalists that are on TV and shit,
yeah,
those are millionaires that are getting paid by billionaires to speak the same fucking talking points, just worded differently. You know, just
yeah.
worded a bit differently because like you said, like someone can like quote unquote pull themselves out by their bootstraps, even though that's impossible to fucking do.
It's like a
But someone
lobbyist.
could bust their ass, do their thing, do everything that they can to set themselves up, set their parents up, set their family up, set their kids up to be good for generations. That does not solve the root issue. You know, if my happiness, right, is dictated by the exploitation of kids in other countries, am I truly happy?
Well, I'll tell you this much. Like an interview, you don't make your money working hard. You make it through negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
And just like in America, you don't make your money working hard. You make your money while you sleep. And we're not taught that. You see, the problem is this, right? You work hard and you don't want to be affected by the capitalists that run the shit, right? So you leave let's say you put $600 in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
You worked hard for that 600. 2 weeks later, you ask for your 600 back. Well, it's gonna be there. But best believe that bank took that $600, invested it into 4 different pots, and made a return of $5,000 off your $600. So by the time you ask for that money back, no problem. I'll give you your 600 if you made me 4,500. So why not skip that process? Stop being ignorant and stop having a fear of, oh, they have control, and do that yourself. And when you do that yourself, you will feel an empowering freedom of you have a financial security. And when you have financial security, that is a very big step. That's a very big level of freedom of being the worker that we're always being trained to be.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't rely on the next check to survive, that is a very big feeling. And just that step alone empowers people to talk and share information and learn.
And then sometimes too, if you do make it, you know, you get successful and you see the way that you got successful, you know, 90% of the times you're going to try to do something not to fuck that up. You know, so certain avenues or certain things you won't get involved in because you feel like it would impede on you, on what you set up. Look at Haiti, for instance. You know, perfect example that you brought up. The Haitian Revolution ended slavery in Haiti and ended slavery on that part of the Dominican Republic. What was the response from the Dominicans? Oh, but our slavery wasn't as bad as yours. Like, you know, we know that you were slaves, but we got to ride on horses as slaves. Like, we're happy with what we got. That's just like parallel here in the United States. We're telling white people, black and brown people are being killed at a disproportionate way by the cops because of lack of training, because of lack of resources. And they're like, well, I'm not gonna do anything to fuck up what I got. I'm chilling. Like, I'm not affecting me.
I'll say this, right? Like,
but you see the comparison.
Yeah. The millionaires that do make it, the people that found a real dope way of getting out of this situation, whether through finance or being an artist or an entertainer. What happens is the difference between us, especially in the North and the South, and white and versus black, is that people in the South, like for example, is like let's take it to some recent, like the Migos in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or some of the rappers like Wagga Flocka. When they see talent and they see someone has the grit to work on themselves, they invested in themselves, and they're not really asking for a handout, but you know that they can help you out. They'll help you out. And they'll help them out. Like Waka Flocka helped out Lex Luger, like Juicy J put on Wiz Khalifa. You know, when he didn't put him on, but he boosted his career. You know what I'm saying? Like how Gucci Mane put on Mad People. That's a Southern hospitality that you'll never get up here in the North. And another thing is that when a Black person makes it, they look at their brother and they say, well, why should it be so easy for you? I worked so hard, especially with racism, to get out of my class. And you think I'm just going to give you the information or the $1 million to get out of your situation? Fuck you. You better earn that shit yourself. And so we don't have this helping hand mentality because we look at all the struggle and pain that we had to go through in order to be there. And we don't want it. It's the crab in the barrel mentality. Why should it be so easy for you when it was so hard for me? That is a nasty mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And that mentality,
it's a secular mentality.
It's a circular mentality, and that must change. Mm-hmm. When you get to a place of wealth, that you develop and teach a kid to fish instead of constantly giving him the fish. You see me? We a lot of times want the fish cooked, prepared, ready, seasoned for us, and then the next plate, we don't know how we're even going to get the fish.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm down for teaching someone how to fish, you know, but at the same time, that fishing rod, I'm down to teach you how to make your own fishing rod and have you own the means of making your own fishing rod. You know, when we look at cell phones, right?
Yeah.
iPhones, for instance, right? Everything that's in this fucking iPhone is all publicly funded research. The chips, the wiring, all of that is all military fund that we as taxpayers, that grandparents as taxpayers funded the United States. So why can't we take the tax that we have been paying for years and actually have it benefiting us? That's right. My point. You know, people are so quick. It's like, yeah, the government ain't shit. I can't stand the government. I'll be one of the first ones to tell you. But at the same time, I'd rather trust government instead of private interests.
Yeah, that's a big fact. Yeah.
You know, because with government, at least we can control somewhat to a degree. At least with government, we could trace shit when it comes to like the Freedom of Information Act. You know, big business, we can't do that shit whatsoever. You know, iPhone, I think back in 2014, iPhone, right, found that it was more profitable for them to pay out $150 million lawsuit because of the battery issue, not being able to unscrew the back to get your battery to swap it. You would have to send it, pay $200. They found that it was more profitable to pay $150 million instead of just having better fucking batteries in the iPhone.
Yes, because they know that that 200 multiplied by how many users and devoted people that are to Apple are there. They're gonna
McLean.
That fiat, you know. Mm-hmm. But again, man, it's you know, these are they're people. We need to be resourceful. We don't have enough resources in the hood.
Yeah, for instance, yep, that's a fact.
We do not have enough resources in the hood for you to go and be curious and to walk in and learn some shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we can start. That other shit, the legislation, that without a doubt needs to change. But you know, we need to start showing that we could stand on our 2 feet before we can even ask for assistance. And it's kind of like if you see 2 guys on the road, well, they both got pop tires. One guy's flagging you down, and the other one is actually doing his tire. He's just struggling. Well, statistically, it's shown that couple 7 out of 10 times you're going to help the guy who is already doing his tire because he put in the initiative and he doesn't look as much as a threat. The other guy, he weighing me down. I don't know where he didn't even start yet, so we're going to be there longer. And not only are we going to be there longer, but he may have an agenda to hurt me. So you will only get that assistance if you start within. I think it definitely should be, especially as reparations, you definitely owe us something, motherfucker. After all the damage that's been done to us, you should make credit lower for us. You should make education more affordable for us. You should be allowing us to go to the same schools. That's the way to pay back. Not a huge loan where you give me $100,000 and a damn jackass fucking donkey and a farm, and I don't know what to do with it because I'm not educated.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather see that than get the fucking loan.
Yeah.
See, for me, but I'm different. You give me a loan, I'm gonna know exactly what to do with it. A lot of people don't know what to do with it. So yes, the funding could be available, but at the end of the day, can you take $10 and turn it to 50? Can you take $5,000 and turn it to 50 grand? And if you don't know how to do that yet, well, what the fuck is the point of me giving you the utensils if you don't know how to use them?
Which I agree with to a certain extent, because to me I'm big collectivist. I believe in collectivism 100%. I
Yeah,
believe in the velocity of money,
yeah,
so if I work for you,
yeah,
you paid me my salary. I take $10, I go to the local bodega, I spend the day at the local bodega. That local bodega pays his worker, that worker then takes his money and go boom boom boom. Velocity of money, it circles the money into the economy. I give
yeah.
some rich motherfucker a big ass tax cut. He's not going to circulate that money back into the economy.
No, he's not.
You will have the most critical conservative economic experts that would still say that welfare is beneficial for the economy. Why? Because if you give money to the people at the bottom of the economy, it helps the economy go. If people, like, say, like, for instance, in the, like, quote unquote, the hood, right? If 60% was on assistance, welfare, food stamps, or whatever, what's going to happen to those small businesses that are in those areas, to the supermarket, to the bodega, when they lose all that excess of income that's coming in? Would they have money to pay their workers? Look at last year, during the coronavirus and the pandemic and stuff, we had the highest source of, like, consumer buying. And why was that? Because they were giving motherfuckers unemployment and pandemic unemployment assistance on top of it, so people had money to spend in the economy. You had
Right.
people who had money to spend it in these corporations and shit like that, which kept the economy afloat. So when you look at countries like Venezuela or Cuba, and all those are poor socialist countries, they're being frozen out of the market. Cuba has a trade blockade that they can't trade with anyone else in the world. Venezuela can't sell their oil to anybody else in the world. You look at the US, we spend $980 billion on the military. And if you take the next 8 countries and combine it, we still spend double than those next 8 countries, which is hilarious. If you cut our budget in half, right, we would still have an extra 200 billion more than China.
Mm.
And we have the money to fix public education. We have the money to fix public housing. We have the money to have, like, daycare programs set up just in case if a woman, she doesn't have anybody to watch her kids, or she doesn't have the means to pay somebody to watch her kids, she could have a program to put her kids in so she could go to work and not have to worry about that. I believe in, like, giving, if everyone had, like, the basic means to live in a society, everyone would be able to thrive. If housing, if healthcare, if education, if electricity. I'm so radical. I think people need free electricity. Why is it that, like, look at Japan? Japan has free broadband in their streets. It's 2021 in the United States. You got some parts, rural, fucking middle of nowhere, that doesn't even got 360p.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I I have. I guess the reason why I talk like this is because I have a very indifferent attitude towards individuals that don't want to strive for themselves. And I have that in my family as well. I statistically am very blessed. I grew up with both my parents.
Mm.
I'm educated. I have a bachelor's degree. A lot of black kids don't have that. But what comes with the teachings of that is how to be industrious. I have a lot of family members, bro, if you look at the environment, you don't even know how they got their crib. And they're millionaires. Like, and it's like when you look at them, bro, they all have the same thing in common. They don't give a fuck about the system. They milk it and then they help others around them, you know? And that's real power. That's like, I'm into things of power. At some point, as much of an analyst as I am and a strategist as I am, at some point you just stop and you have to do it, because again, these things are very interesting, and eye-opening to understand what's around us. But at the same time, it don't get me nowhere, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't until I thought semi like a entrepreneur or freelancer or capitalist that my pockets changed. And I was able to help other people with strategies and you know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's the change. And that's why I love my job so much. Is it's hard for me. People say, could you go anywhere else? Why you stay there? Because I see the change.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen kids that fucking hated math became fucking wizards at it by the time segment 6 came. And they got ill jobs and now they're engineers and all because I just gave them a little spark. That is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the constant this whole conversation, by the way, is not a boohoo moment. It's just, this is a eye opener awareness, type of thing. But at some point, like again, bro, like I like doers. At some point,
Yeah.
I like doers. Um, and we were talking about the celebrity shit, bro. There's so many celebrities I saw during this pandemic, boy, with that George Floyd shit. And I'm like, you greedy motherfucker. You could have put 2 million towards this shit. You could have, built. You could have funded a law firm that could have fought these cases. You could have, you know what I'm saying? And you sitting here talking for the fame. Oh, we gotta do better. We gotta. You didn't even protest. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even see you in the streets, but you talking all this shit for your publicity.
Mm-hmm.
Not even celebrities do, and that shit sickens me. That shit makes me so nauseous to see that you got out of this situation through the grace of God, through entertainment. And by the way, you probably were zoed on the way too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
definitely.
it's like all
But they
this.
become the capitalists. Like you got to understand once that paradigm is switched, and now you're the capitalist, and now you're in the 1% class, and now you have access to so many
That's,
tax incentives and tax breaks. It's like the greed takes over you. The
that's right.
greed takes
And,
over you.
and
And I always tell people it's not just tax, like capital gains tax. So it's not just corporate tax rate. It's the tax code that they abuse.
right.
It's the different disparity of, like, if me and you, if we donate to a charity, when we do our taxes, for every dollar we donate, you and I, we get like 87 cents back. But for
And,
those motherfuckers, every dollar they donate, they get like $2 and something. So it's profitable for them to donate.
economics and economics that people study the economy. They said the rich get rich off two things: debt and taxes.
And tax avoidance.
It's tax. Well, taxes and yes, tax avoidance.
I could
So
be a
there's so
motherfucker
many ways that they can recuperate their money
Mhm.
from the gains that they made because you can't double tax because you have your money elsewhere because of certain bills that allow you to save based off of what your output was to sustain your business, the write-offs, the 1099 forms. These are all ways that they obtain their wealth. And
But that's what the LLC for, and it's like, and I get that, that, like, when you and I, we've had that conversation in class, you was like, oh, the business person, he's taking the risk. He's not taking the risk. You got an LLC. The LLC takes the risk. The LLC takes the hit. You don't take the hit personally. The LLC does.
because the way, like by the time, look, again, it's all about the possibilities and the ratios of which side is weighted more. If there's more accidents than there are payments, well, obviously that's a failing business. If the ratio is 5 to 2, that they pay more, they have more accidents than they have people paying in. Well, obviously that's a failing business. So the whole point of LLCs and insurances is that you pay, like, again, it's all about misguided information. Like, look at what my boss said, and we're not gonna say no names because we're here. So
Mhm.
look at what my boss says. Oh, in order for you to start your business, you need a 1 point something $1 million insurance bond that states that it will cover you. And he leaves it at that and leaves the room. Now, what does that do to the minorities and the kids in the class? It automatically forks them on the wrong road. They don't want to start a business because it sounds daunting. It sounds scary. And he purposely uses legalese language to confuse so that you don't want to have the initiative to start your own business.
Mm-hmm.
When you get scared off from that idea, why the fuck would you go that route anyway? So he leaves it at that. And that's why I got to let him leave the room. And then I'm like, guys, that's complete bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
A fucking LLC or insurance is maybe $200, $185 a month, depending on how good your credit is or whatever your background check is. That's all it is. Oh, that's all it is? That's all it is, Poppy. That's the whole point of insurance. By the time you get into your first accident, which may cost you maybe $12,000 in damages, you already paid fucking 20 grand in debt in insurance over time. So of course they have the money to allocate to you to help fix whatever it is it was. We think that, oh, it's just the insurance. Well, that's the whole point. That's the mathematics behind it. It's a 6-to-2 ratio of people paying versus accidents. You have a surplus amount of money that's overwhelming for anybody, and when they have an accident, they give them the money. That's why they don't have a problem with it. But again, we're not educated. It's that barbershop shit, you know what I'm saying? And we're not educated on what's the background of a situation. You know, again, it's just like what Fred Hampton said.
Education.
Mm-hmm. So, the whole point of me being on this panel with you, or with just us, is the fact that it starts from the individual. It starts micro before macro, just like everything in the fucking world, and it starts with education.
Yeah. And
you need to be educated on what happens inside the building before you talk shit outside the building. And that's just, I feel like, is the bottom line. At some point, I get real sick and tired of not moving and just saying, damn, they got it all. Or damn, the system is rigged against me. Yeah, it's rigged against me. But I'm an individual where I say, motherfucker, let's play the game. Because I'm a smart black player, and I know that all I gotta do is offset you and your whole shit is fucked up. You gotta win the game, not me. And actually, in the game of chess, statistically, that's white's objective. They started it, they gotta finish it. That's how it goes. Yeah. They moved first, they started the game, they gotta win. Me as a black player, I don't have to win. If I draw, it's actually better for me. If I think as a draw of just stopping you from your bullshit, it's better for me. I actually have a higher chance of winning. Flipping the board and putting the momentum in my possession. That's all I gotta do. So for me, as an individual, I said bring it on. You want to play the game? No problem. I'll play the game. I'm not gonna sit here and say, well, why is the game rigged like this? Why did I get these cards? Look, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And again, everything that we talked about historically should be taken into consideration. But now that you have that information, what are you gonna do with it?
No, absolutely. Like, that information needs to be taught. That needs to be taught in school at a very young age. Because you have like people saying that, oh, the optics of Black Lives Matters, it's not good. Colin Kaepernick with the pigs on his socks are not good. Yeah, but in movies in the 70s and 80s and the 80s, cowboys used to kill sheriffs and kill cops like it was no tomorrow.
Right.
So what the fuck are you talking about? So it's okay for white people in movies to kill cops and to shoot cops, but it's not okay for us to just protest against police.
Right. I think Black Lives Matter is a great concept and great organization. I just think they're going about things in a really weird way. I think that, again, it goes into the boohoo mentality, the woe is me mentality. It brings awareness to it like a motherfucker. That's the good thing about it. And it's created an organization where we are finally organized to finally do something about it. It's created a platform and a location for us to donate money for a cause. That's why I think it's good. But
yeah, they have reinvested over $100 million back into poor Black and brown neighborhoods.
Exactly. But the thing is that I want to start hearing on the news that Black Lives Matter launches his first law firm that's going to fight against all these things.
But that's the thing. The media is not going to put that out. You know, my partner this past weekend, she helped the Bronx Community Mutual Aid Organization just, you know, bagging bread up just to distribute it to families. There's organizations that have community fridges. It's set up in different areas that they fill the fridge with food and people in the community could come and take it. That's not being talked on the news.
No, it's not.
You know, the whole communal aspect, like you remember, like the whole, like, oh, they took over Seattle, and no. They set up an area in Seattle that allow homeless people to come in and have shelter, that allow people that were hungry to come in and get fucking food.
I hear what you're saying, but I hear what you're saying, but I think Black Lives Matter will be a little smarter in promoting that, because we got our own look. They fucked up when they gave us this.
Yeah.
They fucked up when they gave us the camera. Okay, but when the camera was developed, they fucked up. Look at all these events that are taking place with these murders from these cops and police brutality. That shit was not even available back in the 70s and the 60s for us to see visually how fucked up it is. I mean, yeah, we knew, but it's like you didn't see it on a regular basis like how we seen it now. I mean, like they were hit with it way more than us, but to visually be bombarded with it, regardless if you want to watch it or not, that wasn't taking place like now. And so let them try to stop that shit. We got Instagram. They have their own platforms. They're gonna spread that shit. It's gonna get so popular.
No, it's out. Like if you was to like there's one guy who I think is phenomenal. I'll send you his video. His name is Roland S. Martin. Roland S. Martin literally does what you're speaking of. Like, you ever heard of TV1? You remember TV1, that channel? He owns, he owns that, you know, he owns TV1. He has a YouTube channel. He owns that. So he uses his platform. So like whenever they would protest last summer and stuff, anytime if they were happening, he would literally live feed them on his cable channel or on his YouTube to let people know what is going on. Roland Martin is phenomenal on that. He speaks on like, yeah, he speaks on like, say like, you know, when everybody talk about like donating money, he's like, that's not the fucking issue. He's like, the issue is, what are these corporations doing with their money? Are they going to black vendors? Are they using black vendors? Are they using black media? Are they using black transportation company? Are they using black businesses that like when it comes to like building houses? Are they using that, or they're just donating money? He was like, now imagine, he was like, my you know, his cable company that he started, he just donated 18 buses, like sports buses for HBCU, so they could have good travel back and forth. Don't take the money from Ford. Ask Ford, build these fucking buses for us. Don't take the money for Apple. Tell Apple, hey, build these fucking computers and give these computers to these kids. You know, don't take the money from General Motors or from Walmart. No, invest in the community and build a brand new public school. Then that's how you build the entrepreneurs for the future. That's how you build the entrepreneurs for the future.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It should be more direct. Instead of a secondary party. But yeah, man, it's amazing, man. It's really amazing how it just goes straight 360 to us again. But you know, I think look, we're getting to a point where we had enough. And we're getting to a point where, like, I personally think that if they don't convict this dude Chauvin, where the fuck his name is, there's gonna be a bloodbath in the streets, bro.
Oh, they're getting ready for it already. I got a notification on my phone.
I said I got a notification
from ESPN, and said that the commissioner of the league has warned teams to be ready just in case they have to shut the league down. I got a notification on my fucking phone.
You already know. And that guy Chauvin, he knew that he couldn't testify because they would pour his ass up during the trials, cross-examining him and playing that fucking video for 9 minutes where he got to explain every fucking long ass minute that he was sitting on his neck. He knows
he's gonna go down. And if you look at these past cases that happened these past 2 weeks and stuff, it's the lady with the taser, right? The first defense, motherfucker, he should have complied. He should have ran. If that was the case, if it was a justified shooting, why are the cops saying that, oh, it's an accidental shooting? If the cops thought the cop was justified, they would have not been trying to make. Oh, it's accidental. They're saying it's accidental.
First of all, Joe in the morning, he said something. You know, we have to take
Morning Joe on Fox, right?
No, not Joe on Fox. Joe on MSNBC. Yeah. He just showed Morning Joe. Mm-hmm. He also used to be a hard right winger, and then he moved to the left.
Yeah, he used to be. Well, he's more central, but he used to be on.
He said, "Look, you gotta give." What I'm about to do is a give before take, is in Chinese, as they say. You know, you gotta give cops credit when timing is so crucial. You know, when something is split second, motherfucker reaching his car real fast, he gotta make a choice, right? You gotta give him that choice. But like in the case of Chauvin and shit, like you was on his neck for 9 minutes. You know what I'm saying? The guy that got the lieutenant that got pulled over, you interrogated this guy for 20 minutes. You knew he wasn't a threat. You saw that he has license. You saw he was doing the right thing. You saw he served for this country, and you're gonna shit on him and put him on the ground?
And then the first thing he said, "Oh, you're a corporal or a specialist, right?" "No, I'm a lieutenant, you dick."
Yeah, yeah. And so it's like, in this case, the only thing I could give her credit for, not credit, but just give her the benefit of the doubt, is that it was very fast. Other than that, you should know your left from your right. You should know. Come on, you was in the military for 26 years. You was handling guns. You should know the weight difference, and you pulled out the wrong shit. I put my wallet. This ain't for nobody to rob me after this, okay? But I put my wallet on one side. I know what side it's every morning, and I know my phone's on the other side, and I know that my keys is in right here. Yeah. It's pattern.
You should have like you literally like check it like 1, 2, 3. You literally hit 1, 2, 3 when you get out the car.
Like this: wallet, keys, phone. That's how I move every day. It's wallet, keys, phone, and I touch just like that. If I see one is missing, I go back upstairs. So, how did you not know the difference between the handgun and the taser? And that cop also made a video about that too. So, look, they don't understand us. They think that we're very aggressive, and they're not understanding the history that makes us the way we are. And that's why screening is so important. First of all, if he was going to run, let him run. We got his address. He got a misdemeanor. He can't run away. If he runs away, he's a fugitive now. So why'd you have to pull out anything? Why couldn't you just subdue the guy outside, talk to him? If you need to search the car, and then let him be on his way. No, these things happen because you wanted to murder, because you think of us as other. And that is the fundamental difference. These people, look, there's a lot of white people who are very sympathetic. I'm friends with, and they hate this shit. You know what I'm saying? My girls have, mostly white, and she's like, she loves black people. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of white people, you gotta give them credit, right?
Like James Baldwin said.
Yeah, but the other white people, the white supremacists, who they grow up, this is a spiritual and a lack of faith. They grow up thinking that they know it all because their religion says so.
Yeah.
They think that if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you're going to hell. And they didn't understand what Jesus was really saying, that we are all God, we're all sons of God, and that you are not other. When you think of yourself as other, it's kind of like the new kid that comes in the class. If a new kid comes into the class and he feels, he's other, he's like this. He's looking around. He got to protect his chin because he is an alien. And when you are alien, you feel hostile. And so you go about trying to beat things up in your control, and you think everything is separate of you, and that your mother and father, just like Alan Watts says it, that your mother and father were up to no goods, with bad rubbers and doing up to no good, doing monkey business, and here you are. You didn't ask for this life, and you know what? I'm either gonna beat it up and make it my way, and it's like, You're not understanding that you are part of everybody. You are part of this.
Mm-hmm.
That cop thought of that kid as other. He thinks of him as automatically on the scene. He pulls up. He thinks of him as a monkey. Just a monkey up to no good. And they really do. They look at us like monkey. It's disgusting.
But like, say like for instance, it goes back to, and I'm gonna keep to the culture and to how the train and how it's put together. Because say for instance, swap out that cop with a cop that's well trained. The cop
Yes.
that knows the difference between a taser and a gun, right? But there's no reason why your taser's not on your dominant side. Why isn't that it's forced that your taser's on your why is it that your service weapons on your dominant side?
That was a fucking bar.
No, seriously.
No, that was a bar. Like,
and when you look at the prison industrial complex, like the prison system, how it's set up, over like 33% of people in jail are homeless people, right? Out of those 33%, 80 fucking percent of them are veterans. We got 90% of homeless people in this country, veterans. 80% of them are in jail. Then you got another 20% that are mental health, that suffer from mental health illness. So when you have like petty thieves, right, and you have like murderers and all this, but you're mixing homeless people, you're missing in mental health issues, you're creating a petri dish of problems to just explode. So
a fucking monster,
bro, and people come out worse, you know. And one person said it, that he's a poet. He said they will rather invest more in our failure than in our success. They put more money in our failure than they put in our success.
Big facts. That is a big. That's another bar.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're gonna make money off exploiting us.
Did you see like in like this past year, this pandemic, right? Like 3M, 3M, that's the company that makes the gloves and the sanitizer bottles and stuff like that. Yeah. Do you know that 90% of them manufactured for sanitizer bottles were prisoners?
Oh, but this is why I'll give you another example. This is why I don't fuck with Jordan, bro. Because like Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. Because people say as a person, even so, Michael Jordan is better than LeBron. How is Michael Jordan better than LeBron when LeBron built a damn school and Jordan exploited black people to make his sneakers in jail for fucking 3 cents? All the shoes you're making that you paying $200 for because you bought it on eBay because someone had a limited edition, that shit was made for fucking 5 cents. Mm-hmm. How much free construction is done at 70 cents an hour due to imprisonment? Yeah. So it's the new Jim Crow slave.
But my guy, when the California the fires that were going on in California, they had inmates, volunteer firefighters. They were inmates fighting those fires.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
That's free slave labor right there.
It's the new Jim Crow, bro. It's the new slave. It's being in prison, and that's why that quote that you just said was so hard, because it's the automatic truth. It's 100%.
They make it harder for us to vote. They make it harder for us to even, when we're trying to follow the structure that you even laid out earlier, they make it hard.
Yeah.
People say, oh, look at these voting laws. It's not racist, No, but if I have an ID, why the fuck do I need to get a voter's ID if I already have a state ID? If I'm already on government assistance and I have a benefit card, why do I need a voter's ID?
I'm already in the system.
I'm already in the system. If you use my social security number for my registration, why can't I vote? Like,
again, brother, because the more options you have, the more power you have. They don't want that. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, I boxed for years, bro. It's like when I box someone, I take things away from them. That's my job. That's what my style is. When you're a counterpuncher, you're an outside counterpuncher. What you try to do is you want to take options away from your opponent. Now he can't throw the jab. Every time he throws the jab, I'm coming with a full counter. Now he can't throw it straight. Every time he throws it straight, I'm hitting him with an elbow roll or shoulder roll, and I'm hitting him. So I take things away from him. Now he has no power. Next thing you know, you got a slugger who's always stepping forward, backing up. Now you can go forward. The only way you could do that to your opponent and beat him down is if you remove options from him. That's the key. Education and options, I think, is the number one um, bullet point that we hit today throughout this entire conversation. It's the only way we're ever going to change.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what Fred Hampton said,
Mm-hmm.
and to have options and be aware of those options.
And it's a coalition also across race, across gender, across sexuality. Like Fred Hampton, one of his big accomplishment was the Rainbow Coalition, where he got Puerto Rican young lords and he got Confederate white boys to sit down and make a coalition of actual working class people. And that's what scared the powers to be. That's what scared fucking Richard Nixon. That's what scared J. Edgar Hoover, who was in charge of the FBI, and said that this black person has to die. J.
Yeah,
Edgar Hoover said that this man has to die for the
that's
work that
another
he was
thing.
doing.
That's another thing. See, my mom teaches the reverse of that information, which is, well, not what you said, but that when you ask a white person what was the Black Panthers, especially in high school, they deem it as something evil.
Mm-hmm.
And in actuality, this was not. My mom teaches that this is not, or this was not a stance towards attacking white people.
It was
This
a political
was
organization.
programs of defense.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, you made the first move. You initiated. You were the first one to move the first pawn on the board. We just responding.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we respond, oh, we are evil. And it's kind of like the statistic, like, or the stereotype that if I'm black and I'm not acting out, it's weird. That's not you. Why can't I be calm? Well, you made it so. You created this coon-like angry black man. And that image prevents me from gaining anything.
Mm-hmm.
You created the straw man.
Oh, the
So
angry black woman.
yeah, so it's it's those stereotypes that stop us.
And that's what makes it even harder, bro, because I follow a lot of like different creators on TikTok or whatever, black and brown BIPOCs on
Yeah.
creators on TikTok. And there's one lady, she said it. She's like, you guys don't understand how hard it is. You know, he was like, because she said, I have to navigate this world, not just being black, but being a woman. And if I burst out, you know, angry, people will look at me as an angry black woman, you know, just an angry black woman. But if a white man steps out screaming, oh, that's an alpha, that's somebody who's fighting what he believes in. You know, it's the stereotypes that get portrayed.
Yeah, and you see, it's funny that you brought that up, because it's like there was an episode I was watching with my family about these two cops, and the cop, something so racist happened in the office that the cop had to walk away. And when the white detective, I think this was in like Los Angeles, but when the white detective finally sat down, the first black detective of the police department, and he said, why did you have to walk? Why couldn't you just express yourself? And he said, every day I have to suppress a demon. When you wake up in the morning, do you have to worry about who's after you for the day? Do you have to worry about who is going to hunt your kids down like prey? Do you have to worry about your wife being stopped on some bullshit and raped? You don't have to worry about those things.
You don't have to worry about having that conversation with your kid.
You don't have to
at that age.
Right. My dad had to have a conversation. As soon as I got my license, he said, always put your cruise control on. Because the minute you go above the speed limit, your melon can get you killed.
There was a study that they asked 100 random white people, 100 random black people, what does this phrase mean to you? What does having the conversation with your kid mean? Majority of the white people said birds and the bees.
Wow.
Every black person said that conversation that you just said.
That's every black house has that conversation. And he says, I have to suppress a demon, and just my fear. See, you don't have any fears. You know, as a white man, and obviously in that
Mm-hmm.
time, my fear is that the demon will come out one day. It's not even about what's going to happen to me. It's about when I let this demon out, then what is going to happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to deal with that. So I just,
I get what you're saying, bro. Because it's frustrating. It's disheartening. It's because it's like, why do we have to be the bigger people? You know,
of course.
why do we have to turn the left cheek? You know, half of motherfuckers in our circumstances got their ass blown off. They don't got a left cheek.
And I'm telling you, and I'm telling you right now, if that motherfucker does not get convicted, that whole turn the cheek shit is gonna be. It ain't gonna listen. I ain't gonna turn the cheek. I'm gonna take my 9. I'm gonna blow both your feet off. You know, that's what's getting important because who's that CNN reporter? The black CNN reporter.
Don Lemon.
Nah.
You told me he has glasses.
Yeah.
Mustache.
Yeah.
Hold on. He don't work with Beyonce. Hold on.
I'm gonna get it right now. Oh, I got it right here. Von Jones.
Yeah, Von Jones.
Von Jones said, at some point, this is what's gonna happen. If this guy's not convicted, at some point we're gonna ask ourselves. It's kind of like with my mom. When my mom used to get beat, my mom would get beat because she did the wrong thing, and my mom would get beat because she did the right thing. And so it gets to a point where you start getting mischievous because either way you're gonna get your ass whooped. Mm-hmm. So you might as well gain something out of this if you're gonna get the same thing regardless. So just like in that case, with us, it's like, okay, we play by the rules. First, you tell us to play by the rules, whether it's how we act in our demeanor, how we carry ourselves, and financially. Okay, so now we play by the rules. You underhand us. You give us high percentage interest rates with low income. Meanwhile, it's the reverse for you. You have low interest rates with high income. Obviously, that's why you're able to get out of your actual class, and it is so much harder for me, and I got to find different ways to do it. So you don't play by the rules with that. So we play by the rules. When we find a way to get out of that shit, you say, let's change the rules because it's too easy. So now you change the rules, you make it harder. Then when we do the wrong thing, obviously you're going to punish us for that. So it's like we're getting to a point now in 2021 where it's like, damned if I am, damned if I'm not. If I don't play by the rules, the punishment is going to be way worse than if a white man didn't play by the rules. And if I do play by the rules, I'm gonna get punished and shunned for it because I made it to look too easy. So now we're gonna do what the fuck we want to do because and finally I'm just gonna gain what I could get out of it anyway because either way I'm fucked. Mm-hmm. That's where we're leading to. And again, if they do not convict this motherfucker, that is what's gonna happen.
When you look at the NCAA, that's a reason why they don't let college athletes get money. For that reason alone, they don't want, majority NCAA athletes are, black and brown students from poor neighborhoods, from poor upbringings. They don't want them to give them that extra boost in life, that startup in life and stuff. You're gonna tell a kid who comes from a impoverished neighborhood that he's in scholarship, right? He has a full ride scholarship, but now he's poor as fuck on that campus. Right. I'm in UCLA, I'm in all these high Ivy League universities, but I'm poor as fuck now on this campus. I can't make any money. I can't get any money from nobody. But at the same time, the people that are in the band for that college could get Grammys, could get record deals. Right. That makes no sense.
That makes no sense.
It's and then when you look at like you said, when we play by the rules, they change the rules halfway during the game. So when we decide to do for ourselves, and look at what we laid out, the Black Panthers. What was the craziest thing they did? A food program, an education program, a housing program, a clothing program. Right. There's never been any like BIPOC or African American terrorist organization in this country as they've been like the KKK. It's never been. There's never been a time in history, because the worst was what, that's the Washington sniper.
Right. Yeah. That was it.
Even that, there's still no proof, because guarantee if there was proof, they would have been plastering those podos. They would have been
Yeah.
making them menace in every movie and stuff. But there's never been.
And even again, it's funny that we were talking about trauma as if it's genetic, because in a sense it is. That's why that's why I love Dave Chappelle, because like he drew the satire around it. He's like, look, after all the shit we've been through, you think a black kid would go back home and say, I'm getting bullied, I'm doing it, kill everyone at school? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? No, we never think those things.
Mhm.
And they're so, you know what it is? This is white. I don't believe this fear with this fucking white people. I feel it's a pseudo fear. And I feel it's a fear of playing victim to keep control. That's what I think this is. Why do you have a fear when you've had it all the entire time? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, how do you have it? You've had it all the whole time. And now you're scared of us. No, I think you're using this paranoia. You're creating a paranoia that's such an extreme that you act out and you do things to constantly suppress us. I really don't think, because it's like, what have you really gone through that you have this fear? We dealt with 400 years, not really 400, it's more like 299, and then the Jim Crow shit, right? We dealt with desegregation for 400 years. Separation, that's separation. Fuck, let's not look at the physical damage. Let's look at the psychological damage. The punishment, they've done studies on several species. Obviously, humans are affected the most, on monkeys and dolphins and chimps being separated and being isolated. And that monkey, 9 out of 10 times, always dies earlier than the other ones because of isolation and lack of love. Always. That's what we had to deal with. High blood pressure, isolation. And you're telling us that your life is so hard that you're fearful? That's a pseudo fear.
And not just that, it's like we can't. You and we can't. You know how like, I could trace back to the 7th and 8th generation, 9th generation, tell you where my parents come from in Europe. We can't do that. You know, the Taino people were genocide off of the Caribbean islands. Like you and we can't do that shit.
I'll tell you what, a lot of West Indians, right? I know it happens a lot in Trinidad. It happens with everybody, Jamaicans, Guyanese. They get upset when the American says, oh, I'm Trini too, or I'm Jamaican too. And the reason for that is because the Trini or the Jamaican is saying, listen, I have a home. Okay? I was brought up in this environment. I eat the food, I speak the language, I know the locations. I am enriched and engulfed in my environment. You're trying to jack my shit. That's why you're doing it. That's why I'm gonna call you a Yankee and use all these derogatory words to isolate you. And the reason why the black man or the black woman is claiming, oh, I'm Jamaican now because my great grandfather was Jamaican. The reason why they're doing that is because they don't have a place to point. They don't have, like, even people, these stupid white Americans that are fucking 9 generations removed from Italy, they can say, oh, I'm Italian. You don't know shit about it. You know shit about Ireland. You don't speak Gaelic, bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know nothing. You feel that you have some authority over me because you have a place to point. That black person, black, started from the ship. You can't point to a ship. A ship is always moving. So it sucks for black people. And that's why we don't even know that's why white people get so confused, and they're like, why are they so sensitive to take offense when I call them black or African American? I don't know what to call them anymore because it's so hard for us to point to an origin. But you know what? Here's the solution to that, right? Black people need to stop saying, where can I point to here like this? and then you just start pointing right here. I made this country for 400 years. Capitalism and the development of the market was developed with these hands and this back. I made this country, not you. So I'm gonna retake it back. And by having that sense of grit, you know, people have a very profound respect for people that stand their ground. Some people may look at it as rigid. Oh, he just doesn't want to move. He's stubborn. Well, in some sense, it's a good thing to be rigid in business. If I'm always moving from what I negotiate, I'm never gonna make money. I'm always losing money. So to stand your ground is a profound soldier-like ability to do. I feel like we need to all be like soldiers, you know? We all need to say, this is my country. This is not your country. Where am I from? I'm from right here, motherfucker. I made this country. And you need to start being proud of that shit. And stop looking for somewhere else to point. You don't belong there. You didn't start from there. You're not Jamaican, you're not Haitian, you're not from the West Indies, you're not African. All right, yeah, you don't know anything about African. Yes, you may have the genetics of most Africans, but you're not truly African. You don't speak Nigerian, you don't speak Algerian, you don't speak any of these countries. You're American. You know, yes, it's a nasty beginning, but I am the reason for why you have today. You know, and that needs to really be taken into consideration and really needs to be embraced until we fucking feel that shit.
No,
We're always,
what you're saying, but and honestly, I'm gonna just say this just because if anybody is randomly just starting the conversation right here, just so y'all know before I say this, you know, I know that I benefit from white privilege, so I am in no place or I do not have the bearings to tell someone else who is dark skinned than me or who is black or who is African American how they should feel in the United States of America. I don't have no standings to make that claim to you or to anybody else, McLean. What I am going to say is that, you know, we've been conditioned to thinking that the continent of Africa is poor.
That's right.
So nobody wants to say that they're from Africa. You know, look at Dominicans. Dominicans will do mental gymnastics to say that they're European or close to the European side, you know, so they could deny their African roots, so they could deny the indigenous roots, just like Puerto Ricans, just like Cubans. And I always tell people when I have conversations with different other Latinx people that even us and our subsection, we are racist and prejudiced at not racist because race is a power structure, but we are prejudiced as fuck. Dominicans will hate Haitians for reminding them that they're Africans. Cubans will hate Dominicans because Cubans are light skinned. Puerto Ricans think they're better than both those motherfuckers because Puerto Ricans are citizens and we was colonized by them. While at the same time, white people in America is looking at us like send those Mexicans back across the border. You know,
it's again, you're right. It's a programming. To think that black is whack, right? That black is weak, that black means. I mean, look, it's even in the undertones of our language. Everything that's white look nice. Dress it just like Muhammad Ali when he was talking about it. You know, the milkman is all nice. The cake has got to be white. Soap's got to be white. Things that clean us are white. White light is white. White light is good because it allows us to see. You know something? I had a very spiritual conversation with my best friend the other day. The concepts of these things, images, really can fuck you up. When images are so powerful, it could be more powerful than the image of God. That's how crazy it is. And he is so indoctrinated into the Bible that he doesn't understand the historical context of why certain things were written. What does the nefesh? What does the Son of God mean? What does the temple within you really mean? Doesn't understand. Takes it literally. And so I did what all philosophers do: is I exhaust you. I cannot talk you out of your illusion. I just got to show you the edge. If you say the Earth is flat, well, of course it is. Look outside. So I'm going to make you say, you know what? Enough. I'm not going to argue your crazy theories because that's me getting sucked into your shit. I am going to tell you to find me the edge. And if you find me the edge, I'll finally believe you. And when they go 360 on their bullshit and they come back to you, they say, you were right. I didn't know. So when you talk to someone, you got to exhaust them. So I said, yo, let me ask you some questions, man. You can talk to me for 2 hours. Do you believe that God is an image? And he says, yes, I believe that he's a man. This is real shit, bro. This is real conversation I'm about to tell you. And there's a point to this. I'm going to draw it all back because of the whole image of what black means versus white. And white is good and black is evil. Right? Check this out. I said, okay, so do you believe in a heaven? He says, of course. Moses said that we have developed and designed a temple on earth that will be in heaven. I said, okay, so I gave him a trick question. I said, so we have the dimensions, the fixed numbers for this? He goes, yes. This is how bold these motherfuckers talk, right? So I said, okay. So we have the dimensions. So how do we accommodate all the motherfuckers that are dying? Oh, well, there's a courthouse and there's these gates, but it doesn't, heaven is not just the temple. It goes beyond that. I said, first of all, why is there a temple if God is right next to me? The whole point of going to a temple is to get closer to God. You're right next to me. Why I need a temple for? So right there, you sound stupid. And then he goes, then I said, what's outside of the gates? And he says, well, what's outside the gates is light. I said, you think outside is just light? He says, yep. I said, no trees, no nothing. He says, nope. He's talking. I said, is it like an LED light? Is it like sunlight? And we're like, what light is this? And he's like, oh, no, it's like the sun. Yeah. I said, okay, so it's sunlight. He goes, yes. I said, okay. There's a sun in heaven? Really? I said, all right. Are there any, this is another trick question I trapped him in. Are there any shadows?
Yeah, dick.
I said, are there any shadows? He said with conviction, no shadows. I said, then that means we built this temple, we did all this shit, and we blind, we can't see. He says, how can we be blind, Nick, if there's light? I said, well, let's look at it this way. If the whole room is dark and there's no light, well, obviously we're blind. There's no light. But if a cop puts a 150 candlelight beam in your face and there's no shadows, can you see the cop and everybody else? No, it is literally the same effect. So the heaven that you draw, I don't even want to fucking go there because everybody's going to be fucking blind where you going. This idea of white is good and black is evil, this subconscious that we use, and the Latin root words that we use to describe what evil and good is. Like, for example, all lefties are evil because in Latin and Italian, the word, I forgot, the word, God damn it, what is the root word?
But I know what you mean. My mom, she was left-handed, and she grew up. She went to school like at a religious school and for like elementary school and stuff. And she used to get beatings for writing with her left hand.
Yeah, watch this. I'm gonna show you. Sinister. The root word of left means sinister. That's so we are indoctrinated to believe that left is evil, that black is evil, and that white is good. And in our actuality, if you really look at it, black is where we all started from. It's how we started from space. Without black, there would be no stars, there'd be no galaxies. The idea of black empty space would not even exist. Black holes, they discovered, actually create matter. All those things that get sucked into it, about 10% that's released is actually transformed into new matter that goes into the galaxy. But we look at black holes as bad because they suck things in and we think they don't give us anything back.
Yeah.
Without black, even look at Africa. We all started from this. Black is where we all started from. This notion of black being evil is bullshit. And we got to get over this mantra that we think this way.
Well, it started in the 1400s when you look at the Crusades, the Roman Catholic Church, the Crusades, and the expansion. All the trade routes at the time were controlled by Muslims. The Ottoman Empire. You got to look at the power structures, the players at the time that was ruling shit. The Catholic Church, like I said, like when I broke down like the feudalism concept or whatever, the church is the government, kings and queens are the states, you know, the motherfuckers are the cops or whatever at the bottom and shit like that, that protects and controls the serfs. So when the kings and queens, like when the Crusades happened, all that was for the Roman Catholic Church was to get gold. That's
Yeah.
literally what it was, to control the trade routes, to stop Muslims from being able to trade, to lead to the fall of the Ottoman Empire. It's all it's been about. Every war has been about greed and money. Every fucking war has been about greed and money. When you look at the Vietnam War, right? The Vietnam War, at the time of the Vietnam War, 8% of the population was black and brown, African Americans. How is it that 8% of your population, African Americans, but in the Vietnam War, that 8% of your population was 52% of your fucking troops that were fighting? How does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Like in World War II, like my grandfather from my father's side of the family got his citizenship from Puerto Rico. The only reason he got it was to fight in World War II. When you look at all the different like military bases the US has, and, you know, like you remember all these motherfuckers complaining, oh, the stimulus money is going to different countries. We're sending the money here, that, and the third. No, it's the US has so many military bases in different countries that we have to have treaties with those countries, right? You know, McLean, like, all right, cool. So if I need a trade route, in order for me to be in control of this trade route, I need to have land in this area. So if the US having like military bases off the coast of Egypt, off the coast of the continent of Africa, they control the trade routes.
That's right.
Panama Bay being set up there means the US get to control those trade routes around Cuba.
Yeah.
You know, people have to understand that every conquest, every fucking action has been taken has always been about money, has always been about greed, has always been about the minority group that control shit hoarding all the money so the majority of the group can suffer.
That's right. It's exploitation. It's just it's disgusting.
Mhm.
It's fucking disgusting, man.
Whether it's however you look at it, when you look in South America, when you look at, you know, people love to, like I say, they love to blame, you know, like immigrants coming from across the border. Look at this whole year, like with COVID. You know, one thing that people didn't say, that last year ICE was because of COVID, ICE was deporting more Haitians and more Africans back to Africa under this bullshit fucking COVID regulation that was enacted. It was a health and safety law that went back 1967 after the Spanish flu, that we used that to stop fucking Jews from escaping Nazi Germany at the same time, which was kind of funny. We call ourselves the land of the free, but you know, when World War II was going around, we stopped and closed the border to Jewish people trying to flee from Nazi Germany. It's kind of weird to me.
That shit is crazy.
Conversation, bro. If you down to do this shit on a weekly basis, on the Sundays and shit, I'm down for it.
Yeah, I'll definitely do this shit every fucking Sunday.
Copy. I'm down for it as well. Hold on, let me just try to, because there's one thing that I just want to mention, show you real quick. That way, if we do another show Sunday, we're able to make it really funky. Hold on. Because this allows you to share videos and streams and shit. So I'm gonna try to see if I can share this real quick. Let me know if you hear it.
Yeah.
Hold on. Can you hear that? Let me see if I mute myself.
I see you moving on the screen, but I just can't hear it yet. I can't hear it yet, no.
Nothing. Hold on. Give me 1 second. How about now? Can you hear it?
Let's see. Is it playing?
Yeah.
Nah.
All right. Hold on 1 second.
I see it, but I can't hear it.
All right. Let me see if I can play it like this.
Yeah, I hear now.
Okay, that's not the one. This is the one. Okay.
We always say the Black Panther Party that they can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that. You're going to have to say that I am a proletarian. I am the people. I'm not the pig. You got to make a distinction. And the people are going to have to attack the pig. The people are going to have to stand up against the pig. That's what the Panthers are doing. That's what the Panthers are doing all over the world.
We have brought to trial here Fred Hampton. You are here to judge between two conflicting testimonies. Somebody is lying. Now, reason stands, reason is very clear here, that Private Jones, who had come from Sanford, North Carolina, would have no great desire to see Fred Hampton up in this trial. But Fred Hampton, a key figure in this community, has great reason for not wanting to be put in jail.
But the state's attorney and the state's attorney's office has reasons to see Fred Hampton in jail. We've got a new state's attorney, you see. And he said already what he thought about people that had different political beliefs than he had. His speeches sound somewhat like those of Hitler. And we know why he wants to see Fred Hampton put in jail. Why do I have a lot of arrests? Because of harassment. Why is that harassment? Because the people that harassed me have set up a problem that made me disagree with them violently. And they set up this problem in order to exploit me and other people like me. And why they want to get rid of me? Because I'm saying something that might wake up some other exploited people and some other oppressed people. And if all these people ever get together, then these things that are exploiting us, we'll be able to run into the lake. That's why they want to get rid of us.
That's right.
And it's just, it's sort of like a primary thing with me. I'm the first move that they'll make. I'm a part of the organization. Will be the first organization they'll move on because I happen to be a part of the organization, the Black Panther Party. That is the only organization, in fact, that has came out and stood up loud and clear and said that we don't care what anybody says, whether they have guns or not and badges or 18 uniforms. If whenever they get outside the bounds of legality into the bounds of illegality, then we'll blow their brains out if they're bothering the people. And what makes them mad about that? They're constantly bothering the people. Anybody that's out there for the protection of the people happens to be in direct conflict with them. What makes them mad about it? What makes them mad about it is that they have black people and white poor people and red poor people and Puerto Rican poor people and Latin American Puerto Rican people of poor people of all descents. They have them caught up in movements based on racism when the Black Panther Party stood up and said that we don't care what anybody says. We don't think you fight fire with fire best. We think you fight fire with water best. We're going to fight racism, not racism, but we're going to fight with solidarity. We said we're not going to fight capitalism with black capitalism, but we're going to fight with socialism. We stood up and said we're not going to fight reactionary pigs and reactionary state's attorneys like this and reactionary state's attorneys like Hanrahan with any other reactions on our part. We're going to fight their reactions where all those people are getting together and have an international proletarian revolution. Right on. And that's saying all power to the people. That's saying that no matter what color you are, you're just only two classes. And that's saying there's a class over here and there's a class over there. And the reason that this class over here has never did anything to get this class off its back because this is lower, this is upper. This is the oppressed, this is the oppressor. This is the exploited, this is the exploiter. And these people in this class have divided themselves. They say, I'm black and I hate white people. I'm white and I hate black people. I'm Latin American and I hate hillbillies. I'm hillbilly, I hate Indians. So we fight amongst each other. And you heard it.
Real quick, I want to add to that.
What's up?
That's what that part right there is very powerful because not only that happens in religion as well, but that definitely happens in our community. Whereas there's this level of one-upmanship. You know what I'm saying? Like, my religion is better than your religion. I am more awake than you are. I am more spiritual than you are. My guru is better than your guru. My love is stronger than your love. My religion, that one upmanship. My Dominicans are better than Haitians. The Jamaicans think that they're better than Trinidadians. Trinidadians think that they're wiser than Jamaicans. Guyanese think that it's like when you Watts once said, if you think that your country is the best, you're doing your country a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not allowing it to grow. If you absorb what's around you and bring it into what you have, you're always creative and creating new innovative ideas. I think that I wrote a list down of like things that we spoke about,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like these are the solutions. Is like, so I wrote like 6 points. Number one, I think what we've talked and got down is it starts micro before it goes macro. Education is the number one most important thing. Unionizing, as far as the strike back, is how you're going to change. And development in creating resources in in community. Enough with the blame games. Enough saying "woe is me." I would say travel and awareness prevents ignorance, and options creates power.
Mm-hmm.
I think that throughout all of what I discussed with you, I feel like that's what we need to do.
Yeah, definitely. I will add one more as well. Like Fred Hampton was just speaking, recognizing that as well. Fred Hampton, well, in that video that I just showed you, man was 20 years old at that time.
Oh, he died so young.
He died 21 years old. Rest in peace, Fred Hampton. He was wonderful. But what the Black Panthers don't get credit for, like Angela Davis, Huey Newton, what they don't get credit for is that they took Marx's work, right? Karl Marx's theory on like Marxism and socialism, his theory on economic, and they were able to translate it into a postmodern society that we live in right now. Well, at the time, it was a pre to what we are right now, post, but it was a postmodern society of what we are. Marx talked on recognizing the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. The bourgeoisie are the capital, the proletariats are the workers. Huey Newton and Angela Davis, their contribution was being able to identify the lumpentariat. The lumpentariat are people like you and I that have been displaced because of Western imperialism. We've been displaced because of colonialization. So we are just lumped in with the proletariats. Now at the time, the proletariats were being confused by the bourgeoisie class, that the lumpentariats were the reason why you're poor. Black and brown people, Indian people, Puerto Rican, Chinese people, they're the reason why you're poor. It's not us. It's because they're coming in and flooding in your school system and destroying your community, destroying Western culture. And that's the guys that they'll use it, Western culture.
Divide and conquer and distract and distract and you'll stay on top.
Yep.
It's all tactics.
Yeah, it's all a tactic, man. And I appreciate this conversation, McLean. Like I said, we could literally pick this up next Sunday if you want. You see how we're able to share videos and shit like that. So during the week, if you have any video clips or whatever, save them, send them to me, and we could like go over clips, review clips, talk about them. And if that case comes out, we have like if we have a verdict by next Sunday, we could speak on it and speak on like the ramifications and everything. And if there's any news, we could definitely cover it.
Absolutely, brother. I'm down for it. I'll be there.
All right, copy.
Absolutely.
I look forward to this venture with us, bro.
Absolutely, man. That's just awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And yo, shoot me a text, man, if you have any questions for anything, bro.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for having me on this, man, and for the invite. Of
course, the invite's always out there. If you want to invite other people are more than welcome to.
My girl says she wants to join the next one, so she's gonna bring a bunch of people next time. So
copy, cool.
Yep.
Cool. Normally, like you've seen, like the chat was like going back and forth. These are normally people that I do sports stuff with, so they know me from like the sports world and stuff. So I appreciate everybody. Yeah. Well, hold on.
Oh shit, they don't hear.
Yeah. All in the yeah. So I had a few people come through and comment and stuff like that. Yeah. These are a lot of the people that I do like my sports stuff with. So if I do a sports one, I'll send it to you so you could just watch it and you get the vibe from it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
You stay safe, bro.
Stay easy, bro.
All right, baby.
Peace.
Later. Yo, thank you guys all for the chat, for tuning in. Totally appreciate it. Great episode. Later, y'all.